Okay, and here we are, yet another discussion with that dude. I'm joined by an illustrious guest, JB James Fauntleroy. Did I pronounce that right?
It's Fauntleroy. Yes.
Fauntleroy. Man, that sounds way better when you say it. But yeah, James Fauntleroy. This person is, from what I know, to be a philanthropist, a activist, a blacktivist, mutual aid person, a content creator. I know that he's been involved in politics, so this is a person that I've witnessed overcome great health outcomes and just adversity in that field and just be able to overcome. I've seen this person be uh, having solidarity with various groups. I've seen him advocate for various social issues, justice issues. So this person is someone that, as we like to say, stands on business socially, politically, and spiritually. So that's my introduction, James. I'll let you introduce yourself, and if I missed a step, go ahead and correct me.
Man, what an intro. That was very gracious of you. Thank you very much, by the way. It kind of makes me think about in the Thor movie when Odin said, "Perhaps I'm a piece of bread that should be buttered so heavily." So speaking of bread and butter, food wise, but yeah. So of course, my name is James Fauntleroy. I'm part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. I also have my own channel called JB Font, and I do foreign and domestic policy from a Black left perspective. And we talk about these things from a Black left perspective because there has been really an open lane for that for the last few years. And so, a lot of us at RBN have decided to be able to jump into that lane. It was kind of like a bit of an empty void. There was only, a small handful of people who were actually fulfilling that role. So we felt it necessary to do that. And especially because, we live here within the imperial core, and those of us who are Black, especially Black American, we don't actually have that voice as much as we would like to speak on our own personal perspectives, to speak from our lived experience. And so I think it's really important for us to be able to do that, especially from a experience that is more of the anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist lens. And so that's pretty much me in a nutshell for the most part, that I try to speak from that lived experience and perspective. So that's me.
Okay, so cool. Let me poke at that a bit because when you say the term black leftist,
Mm-hmm.
in America, that would be considered identity politics, right? Even though once you're framing yourself as a leftist, that's identity politics. You are just saying the obvious that you are a black leftist. The
Mm-hmm.
reason why I'm wanting you to expound on that a little bit, because when I hear a leftist perspective, oftentimes the black leftist perspective is shut out or shunned, and or both. Oh, you're just a black, yeah, you're a leftist, but you're a black leftist, which means you have to fall in line of the hierarchy, which means you can never be at the top. And if you are at the top, you have to be overseen by someone that will put a battery in your back, which makes you not really a black leftist. It makes you a black puppet of the leftist or a black puppet Democrat establishment. So can you speak on that a little bit? Have you had any contention with black voices being kind of drowned out or marginalized or not taken as serious? I'll give an example and I'll allow you to expound and tell me if I'm off the mark here.
Sure.
There's a great campaign strategist. I believe she's an activist and philanthropist as well, Teslin Figaro. She worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign. I can't remember her exact title, but it was something to do with racial justice and advocacy. And she and other members talked about Bernie, who was supposed to be the pinnacle of leftiness, right? how their voices were shut out, marginalized. They were basically there to be mascots and symbolic figures to go out there and whip the vote,
Yeah.
but you won't be taken serious because you're just not smart enough. You're smart enough to organize, you're smart enough to be the figurehead, but just not smart enough to lead anything. Am I missing the mark? Have you experienced any of this as a black leftist?
As far as being in the political sphere and working in campaigns, I've only worked on one campaign, which is the Jill Stein 2024 campaign. So I haven't really experienced that. But you're within the same ballpark, I would say, as far as my experience has been. When I say black leftist, I'm not talking about the Democratic Party. In fact, the Democratic Party is actually not a left party at all. So therefore, when I refer to being on the left, I don't refer to Democrats because they are for all intents and purposes, a right-wing party. When I say by black leftists, I mean the tradition of black people on the left being ones like Kwame Ture, a Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party for Justice and Liberation, the African People's Socialist Party, you know, the Uhuru movement, things like that. So when it comes to me being black and on the left, I'm talking about strictly from an anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist lens. And there is, unfortunately, and what's the best way I can put this? Unfortunately, there are some on the left that discount the intersection of identity and class together, how they intersect. You know, and we have to, you know, we have to square with the fact that we do not live in a homogenous country. That being said, then of course, because of a lot of the oppression and a lot of the issues that we have had in this country has been due to identity. So therefore, to go in the opposite direction, you also have to deal with identity in regards to class as well. And now we dealt with it in a negative sense, and now we have to deal with it in a positive sense. And so when it comes to liberation, liberation also means liberating people who are of different stripes that aren't, you know, the standard, right? You know, straight white male. You know, we vary in different shades. And if you look at people who are of different identities, there are also class disparities even within that too. So some of these identities have been overlooked. And so I think it's important for us to make our voices heard because we have a unique perspective of seeing the world and seeing how this system operates from our identity. And for some, they may not know this angle. And so it's important for us to make our voices heard. And also, there's some voices that are more centered than others. And I mean, pardon my French, but that's bullshit. It shouldn't be that way. We should be willing to hear other perspectives and hear them out. As long as it is fighting for the liberation of people, regardless of their immutable characteristics, we should be, you know, hearing that out and seeing how we can also help them to be less marginalized than they are now. So when I say that I come from a black left perspective, that's what I mean, is that more of us, our voices being heard and it not being waved away, you know, because, oh, that's identity politics. It's like, well, no, because the thing is, class is also an identity. You know,
Right. I always say all politics is identity politics. When someone's saying we're trying to get the evangelical vote, that's identity politics. When you're saying we need more white babies, that's identity politics. Trans lives matter is identity politics. Free Palestine is identity. All the politics have some level of, it's based on some level of identity. And it's crazy and ironic because the people that rail against identity politics are people that lean in to their identity, and they focus on black crime, identity politics, right? Because you're saying you don't see color, but then suddenly you do see color when it comes to black crime.
it's like, oh
But
yeah, oh, so you do see color. It's like, oh, all right.
and I like what you said about this because this is the standard, and this is why it's imperative to give a different perspective and actually dispel a lot of these myths, fallacies, and just flat out lies. So when people hear left, in their mind, that means Democrat. Right in their mind means Republican. It could mean libertarian. I think libertarians are just disaffected right wingers. You know, even most, when someone says they're a blue dog Democrat, what they're saying is they're a right winger masquerading as a Democrat. Most Democrats are right wingers, right? It's just they have a D. And, you know, our sister, Sabby Sabs, always brings up that DNC fraud lawsuit where they're basically saying no one really is a Democrat. So it's more appropriate to say that you vote for the Democrats. You support Democrats. You're really not a Democrat. Now you can, you know, no different than me being a Laker, right? Like when, you know, the team wins, you say, my team won. Like actually is not your team. It's a team that you support, you know, like, you know, my party won. No, a party that you support won. You're not a Democrat. But you know, I'm saying all this to say that when people say left, they say Democrat. You hear hacks like Bill Maher, all of the stooges, Scott Jennings, and the people they have on CNN. When they want to stick it to the Democrats, they say the left did this, the left did that. And it's a misrepresentation of the left. So when you come in and say you're a black leftist, some that are politically incompetent will see you're just another black Democrat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what? I have this argument on Twitter all day long. By the way, people, don't join Twitter. It's a cesspool.
It really is.
But here's the thing. I get people, B-Eazy, let me tell you something, bro. Oh my God. See, this is why I gotta USA myself so I won't crash out. Here's the deal. When it comes to, I will get people who I start talking against Republicans and they're like, well, you voted for Kamala Harris or you shouldn't have voted for Joe Biden. I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. Who's that voted for them? I'm like, oh, no. You think you're talking to a Democrat. I'm no Democrat, baby.
Hey, you have been
a wrong one or the right
the,
one, depending on your vernacular. Here's the thing. I'm not those fascists. So
hey,
why are you coupling me with them?
you have been accused of MAGA.
Oh, because you see me as a black man, and so you automatically think that I am with them. These people, they have that binary thinking. They only think either black and white. They don't think about all the other colors across the spectrum. And I'm like, no, you guys need to start expanding your minds because right now you guys are all on the right, and you guys are all thinking, oh, well, if I'm on the right, on the left side of the right wing, then I'm left wing. No, you're not. And the thing is that we challenge that, and then their brain goes haywire because they're like, because they'll start talking smack about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I'm like, yeah, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're trash. I'll say Bernie Sanders is trash. They'll be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I said it. But equally, Donald Trump is trash, just like George W. Bush is trash. And they're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And I'm like, here's the information. There you go.
So,
because if you want to be consistent, here's the information. and see how more they are alike than they are different. But a lot of people don't want to reconcile with that because they want to cheer for their team. And I'm like, no, the only team I'm on is, the people who are the most disenfranchised. I'm on the team of, Black people. I'm on the team of the people of the global South. I'm on team brown people. I'm on team, marginalized, right? I want the world to win. You just want one side of one party. And we ain't built the same. We're not the same.
And from what you said, some people would say, and like you said, stay off of Twitter. It's a cesspool. But Twitter does give a microcosm of the pulse of what people actual sentiments are. It's just they're unwilling to verbally say it because they rail against cancel culture. I don't know if you've seen it, but Piers Morgan and other stooges are saying, yes, Trump won. So that he's coming out with a book that woke is dead, and they have all of this anti woke stuff. And now they're saying, oh, you can say retard again. I'm like, why were you obsessing over saying retard? And no one was truly stopping you from saying it. It's just some people find it politically incorrect or inappropriate. They always talk about meritocracy and the free market. So if someone who's not a Black person is in charge of an industry and wants to penalize you for saying retard or the N-word or anything else, why are you still then turning around and lash it out on a mentally disabled person or lash it out on a Black person when it's someone that looks like you that's actually canceling you, right? Have you heard these complaints about cancel culture, with the lady Shiloh Hendricks, who's verbally abusing and accosting a 5-year-old autistic Black boy, and everyone is saying that, not everyone, but a significant amount of people are saying, well, that's just Black fatigue, because the entire Black community has the white community tired. So they're going to vicariously live through a white woman calling a young kid an N-word, and that's supposed to end white guilt. Does any of this make sense to you?
You know what I say to the white people who have Black fatigue? Aw, aw. These are a bunch. Look, these are a bunch of special little snowflakes who can't take shit. Here's the thing, right? They don't like hearing us talking about oppression. Try being oppressed. This is the thing that gets on my nerves, right? This is the thing that burns my biscuits. Yeah, I'm gonna say it that way. Because here we are, right? We have no institutional power. None. And yet all we do is verbally criticize. Yeah, a few of us, we may we may, they may catch a fade from one of us because, they said the wrong thing to the wrong person on the right day. All right, fine. But collectively, they have a lot of power, right? They have institutional power. They have privilege. And all because they're tired and they're getting on their feepies because of us talking about the bad stuff that they've done and how they will continue to allow that same system to continue and don't do a damn thing about it. Oh, they're tired of hearing us talk about it.
And actually, hold on, James, before you go on, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to actually, because this is one of the other words that they co-opted. The original essence of Black fatigue was that, people are being fatigued of hearing us give a voice to the oppression that we're actually suffering in the past and currently. That's what the fatigue was supposed to be about. Hey, we're tired of hearing it. They flipped it to find old fight videos and say, hey, no, we're tired of you acting like this on the society. But that's not what it was about. So now it's taking the blame from them being oppressed to them saying, hey, look, We've been too tolerant of these savages. Here, look at this fight video. Here, look at this crime. This is what we're fatigued of. And it completely negates and omits the subjugation and, systematic targeting of oppressive strategies that they put us into. So, you can pick it up from there.
And that's like me stepping on your toe and then you start screaming. And I'm like, God, I'm so tired of hearing you screaming. Will you stop screaming? Get your foot off my toe and then maybe I'll stop screaming. If you're tired, look, I'll tell this to white people. If you're tired of hearing Black people talk about our collective trauma and the oppression, change the system then. Make it so that no group has any privilege over one another. Do it. Do it. I dare you. I dare you to do it. But then, are you going to do it? Nah. And I'm not saying all white people, of course, right? But I'm saying there's enough that they keep that institutional power of white supremacy in place, but then they complain that we're upset that institutional power is still in place. It's like,
And
well, then get rid of it, right?
they wouldn't tolerate this system targeting them this way, but they believe that we should accept it.
No, it's like if you poop on the floor, don't get mad at me because I'm saying it stinks in here and you don't clean it up. Clean it up. All right? Why are you getting mad at me for? Because now I'm locked in a room and have to smell it with you. Like, no. It's crazy. And the thing is, it's victim blaming. That's the problem. It's a culture of victim blaming. This is the equivalent of a woman being raped, and then next thing you know, they're like, well, what were you wearing?
No, it's actually a bit more sinister than that because yes, it is victim blaming, but that's incomplete. They're not only blaming the victim, they're saying now that they're the victim.
Okay, I concede to that point. Yeah.
Because haven't you been hearing it? They're saying we're tired of white guilt. They're saying they were a victim of white guilt, that they have to be held accountable. But notice this, right? And they'll always say, you were a slave. We enslaved you, right? That, like, you're a descendant of slaves. So okay, cool. You're a descendant of slave owners, right? You're proud of that, right? And then once you start digging into that, then suddenly it's uh like just stand on it. We're not necessarily proud that our ancestors were slaves, but we're proud of what they overcome. You are saying that you're proud of the conquering. So stand on the rape, stand on the pillage, stand on the pedophilia, stand on the incest. Don't tell me that, oh, it was normalized back then. So imagine this. Yeah, like, oh, pedophilia it has been since ancient times. So that's why I'm a pedo today, or a MAP, minor attracted person. People will be like, no, that's deplorable, etc., etc. But we're supposed to hold that argument, when it comes to us oppression, our oppression, even the whole, well, your people sold you. And, someone made the argument, actually, they weren't my people. That's why they sold me, like they were selling different ethnic groups, different tribes. They didn't consider them their people. That's why they sold them. But let's just go with that. Would this argument be sufficient? This unruly dad was molesting his child, so that's why I molested the child. I mean, the dad did it, why shouldn't I? That would be a foolish, another insidious argument. But these are the type of arguments that people are making to justify slavery, Jim Crow, even a genocide in Gaza. Well, Hamas does this to its own people, so that's why we're bombing them into oblivion. Could you speak to any of what I said, if you disagree or want to expound?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, you were cooking there because two wrongs don't make a right. Like that's an easy concept to get. Like, why is somebody doing something wrong to somebody else justify you doing wrong to that person? That doesn't make any damn sense. Like, what? Like, have you really lost your empathy that much that you're gonna justify doing something wrong to somebody because somebody else did something wrong? Oh, well, if that old lady got robbed, then it's okay for me to rob him too. Or because I got robbed, I need to rob that other person that is a completely other is a victim. I gotta victimize that other person because I got robbed. No, that's crazy. Why would you perpetuate and continue that cycle? Doesn't make any damn sense. And so a lot of times people will think, well, I need to continue this because it happened to me. And it's like, no, you got to stop the cycle in order for it to stop happening. Because a cycle always comes back to you. Chickens
That
come home to roost.
that's a great point, because when you think about it, especially with the white supremacy, guess who was abusing them and oppressing them? Other white people.
Yes.
And instead of clashing with them, they take it out on the people, right? It's utterly insane. Especially, for instance, the catchphrase is here, BLM. And I say, look, you guys always talk about how black people collectively have no generational wealth. When you look at the hundreds of millions that was flowing into these NGOs using black bodies, black pain and death to fundraise, it was Amazon, Comcast, AT&T. Yes, they put up those three corrupt figureheads, but they were just the mascots. They weren't the only ones that ate off of that, but they're using now BLM as essentially a proxy for all black people, but they won't attack so imagine this. They always say George Soros this, right? It's the Jews. So if you're saying George Soros has all of this power, why are you blaming the entire black community for George Soros, right? And a lot of the BLM, they had a lot of Act Blue fundraising. We know what Act Blue is, right? But instead of blaming the Democrats, they blame the entire black community. So now just a working class mechanic gets blamed. A gangbanger in Chicago gets blamed. A lawyer in PG County gets blamed because the black community has to be accountable. And I'm like, okay, cool. Since that's the standard, I agree. So when are you guys going to be accountable for Trump or Biden's genocide, right? Then they call that white guilt, but they want us to have black guilt for some random drive-by in Chicago when you've never been.
Here's what I have to say about white guilt. If you are made to feel guilty for what your ancestors did, good. Good. Because you know what that guilt does? It puts that in your mind of, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this. You know what, maybe I shouldn't do that. It puts the never again in your mind. So therefore, you teach it to your kids, never again. And then that breaks the generational curse. That breaks the generational trauma that your ancestors caused. Good. Keep that guilt. Hold on to it. And here's something that a lot of people won't say. A lot of people won't talk about. Some of y'all racist ass ancestors are also our ancestors because they were the ones that raped our grandmothers and great grandmothers. So we also have the same ancestors. But are we sitting here going, woe is me, because my great, 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 great granddaddy raped my great, 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 great grandmother? No, right? Because we're actually moving on and trying to liberate ourselves. Why aren't you helping us to do so? Why aren't you going to say, I'm going to be different from that part of my family and I'm going to do something better? But no, you want to be like that great, 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 great grandfather, don't you? You want to be him. So therefore, you got that guilt, sit with it. Let it marinate in your heart and your mind. I hope that you actually hear the screams and cries of all the little black babies that your ancestors murdered and pillaged and raped over the years. I hope you live with that. Because if you're going to sit there and go, well, I don't want to feel guilty for what my ancestors did, but you're going to keep the system in place? Fine, keep the system in place. But you're going to have to also bear the responsibility of what your ancestors did because you're not working against it. And that's what gets on my nerves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because people will talk about, oh, well, we don't like. Here's the thing: guilt can be a good thing to keep you from doing the shit that you were doing before.
Correct.
That's the other side of guilt that people don't talk about, and that can be a tool to stop doing wrong. But people don't want to talk about it because if you forget it, if it's out of sight, out of mind, then that means you're going to continue to do the same things you were doing before, and then you're going to perpetuate it still for time in memoriam.
Correct.
And
It's just they
so,
don't want you to complain about it while they're doing it. That's their issue, is that you're before now the internet and certain social movements and people being able to build cohesive units. Now
mhm,
people are giving voice and actually able to challenge these talking points. That's
true.
the issue. The
Mhm,
oppression never changed. The oppression just evolves to become more covert, and sometimes it has to be overt to let you know. That's why they call it, the nigga wake up call. And, other people, other groups get it. Obviously, it's just called something different, but in essence, it's the same thing,
mhm,
so now people are able to challenge these and articulate, because there's the stereotypes. You stereotypically should be a low IQ angry black man, but then when you get on panel with some of these leftists or right wingers, and you're able to be astute and be composed and just completely dismantle their arguments, then since they don't have an argument to attack you personally, then it becomes, well, you were a slave in 1350 and all these other things. Like, what the heck does that have to do with anything? And that's why sometimes a lot of these voices are marginalized as well too. It's kind of like this one thing in sports, and I will admit it too, right? Like if you in the hood, on the basketball court, right?
mhm.
And there's some white dude that comes out there, right? Automatically, people is like, bro, you better not. You better not get beaten. Like, it shouldn't be that way or whatever. You shouldn't see color, but we know how it is, right? They'll be like, that's where the whole white man can't jump, even though it's a lot of completely skilled white dudes that can jump out the gym and all this stuff. It's just like a kind of funny stereotype, right? But people still do hold that standard. And I'm not saying other groups don't feel this. I'm just saying that if you go out there and there's a bunch of brothers, they're like, bruh, we ain't letting you beat us on our court. So I'm saying that to say that's how it is with a lot of politics as well. Man, we're not gonna let some brother come out here and act. You ain't Barack Obama. You ain't vetted. You ain't part of the boule. Like who? James. Like who are you? And then they're gonna try to dig up dirt to discredit you as a person because they can't debunk you. If they can't
Yeah.
debunk you, they will discredit you. You know what I mean? And I want to speak on something that you said when you talked about privilege, because there are many people that believe white privilege doesn't exist, but Trump just showed that it does with the refugee status. Do you think that he was just doing the right thing because these people were fleeing violence and persecution as is being reported? Or was this a way for him to reinforce the privilege that some say doesn't exist? What is your position on that?
He wasn't doing the right thing because if he was doing the right thing, he would have did it for the Palestinians before he did it for the white South Africans. If he was actually,
Speak on that. Hold on, because we don't get to hear this a lot. That's a great point. Why these people are the international community has determined that that is an actual plausible genocide. They added plausible just to kind of throw a bone to Israel. It's a genocide, right?
mhm, mhm.
There is no genocide. The international community has come out and said, no, this does not meet the definition of genocide was going on in South Africa. And even the farmers that killed, of the farmers that got killed, guess what race most of them were? Black. But he didn't let on over any black farmer. So I just had to interject that. This is disgusting that people, where these babies are being amputated without any anesthesia, just turned into rubble. And instead of saying we're going to help them, it's like, yeah, we're going to turn this into a Riviera, a resort where people can sip pina coladas. However, the true refugees from there, up, you can't come here. But it's not about race. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, it is. It's peculiar because you have a 21st century Holocaust and you don't allow them to come here for refuge. And yet, the white South Africans who aren't being oppressed at all, in fact, they're only 7% of the population in South Africa, yet they own over 80% of the farmable land. And you're telling me that they're oppressed? Oh, that's hilarious, right? And yet, you won't even allow Palestinians to come here who are literally going through a 21st century Holocaust. You know what this is like? This is basically the equivalent of when Jewish people in the 1930s were on a boat trying to come here to the United States for refuge during the Nazi regime, and the United States turned them around and sent them back to Germany. This is the exact same thing. And so, truth be told, it is white supremacy because Elon, who's very afraid of the browning of America, which America originally was always brown, they just don't like that's a fact. That America is becoming more black and brown over the years because the birth rates are declining, especially among white people. And so instead, now they're trying to import more white people into the United States so that they can grow their numbers. When in
And this is
reality,
this is what they originally did as well with the black, because there's a enslaved black population, freedmen population, and indigenous population, and it was a mixture, and it was actually more of them. That's why they had to import people. Though when people say it's a white nation, it never was a white nation. This is why they try to adopt and assimilate. They brought Italians over and called them guineas. Guineas meaning you have African ancestry. Basically, you're a nigga in another name, you know. But then, oh damn, look at our numbers. Okay, you can get hazed and assimilated into whiteness. Irish wasn't considered white. Armenians, you can go down the list. These people were adopted into whiteness. Even with some of the Treaty of Hidalgo, a lot of Mexicans were actually classified as white. You know, that was part of the treaty. Here will allow, you know, more of you. You know, we're going. You have to see this territory. Texas, Oregon, a lot of other places. They paid the money, and then they said also we'll you know, take in many citizens and classify them as white, so you won't get the Negro treatment. All of this was done to, on paper, inflate and create this into this allegedly white country that it never was, and it never will be.
and with Elon, this was really a wink and a nod to Elon, right? So
He
that
donated over 200 million to his campaign, so Trump is like, the least I can do is, I believe it was 59 only white South Afrikaners. So yeah, this is why you got to get money out of politics. Go ahead, bro.
oh, absolutely, because if money, wasn't involved in politics, then this country would look a whole lot more different. Uh, this country would look it wouldn't, of course, it wouldn't be perfect by any means, but it'd be a hell of a lot better, especially for those of us who are marginalized. Yeah, because you don't have money in politics, and which means that, you know, I love the phrase when people go, the arc of the universe is long and it bends towards justice, and I'm like, who does the bending though? We're the ones that bend it.
Also, who was administering the justice? Because justice could also be subjective, right? People think Rittenhouse got justice, but the judge was putting the thumb on the scale for him. A lot of people
Mhm.
think Jordan Neely got the justice that he deserved, right? But justice on whose account? Justice by whose measurements? So we always have to consider that as well. Because remember, in Nazi Germany, what they were doing was legal. So do
Yeah.
we only want to obsess over the law, right? Because people are like, why didn't he comply? Well, based on that metric, why didn't the Jews comply? Now,
Hmm.
I would never, you know, uh, insinuate anything like that, but I'm just saying when you put out kind of foolish terms and try to make these blanket statements, you can't say it applies in this scenario, but not in this one. So it's like, hey, the lie. I have an acronym. I call it Cecil, SESL. Same energy, same logic. Keep the same energy, apply the same logic. If you're not willing to do that, then you are making a very contradictory argument that people could poke holes in. You had something to add, bro?
I'm gonna start calling you Chef Boyardee because you be cooking, bro. Um,
Hey, thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
I was
Hey,
just
it's
waiting for you to cook some more. I was like, okay, okay, there goes the
okay.
collard greens, there goes the
Okay, hey,
cornbread. I'm just waiting for that
give
mac
me
and
give me some
cheese.
salt, baby.
Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah,
hungry
no,
by the way. Can you tell? But
we
to
we
ask,
we 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 gonna get to that.
oh, I can wait. But but yo, real talk. Like when it comes to laws, just because it's a law doesn't mean it's ethical or moral. It was legal for us to be enslaved. Does
That's what I
that
was
mean
like.
it's
Do
moral?
do we forget the Jim Crow? Wasn't it legal for us to be lynched?
It
You know,
was. It was legal. Hmm. It
so
was
so
legal.
so imagine telling our ancestors why didn't they just comply and you would have avoided the lynching. And some of
Yeah.
it was as simple as, if you're walking on the sidewalk and there's a white person, you need to go on the street. Like, you can't be on the same, like that. You need, so it,
Yeah.
it it puts you at a lower level than them, so they're up on the curve standing above you, and you need to get down. That was a law. They had all sorts of vagrancy laws where you're a homeless black person, oh, you're hanging around here, you're loitering, you're up to no good, locking
Mhm.
you up you
Yeah.
know
Let me ask you this: have you ever seen the lecture by Dr. Joy DeGruy called it's called Post
the
Traumatic
new
Slave
Jim
Syndrome?
Crow. Oh, okay. I have seen some of that. Yeah, the post-traumatic slave disorder or syndrome.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Yeah. It's, I think, some people call it disorder, some people call it syndrome, but
Okay,
it's
I've heard
semantic.
both.
Yeah. But the point is that one of the things she brought up was that there had to be a law had to be passed because so many slave-holding white women were beating black children to death. So they had to create a law making it legal for white women to be okay so that they won't ever have to face punishment for beating black children to death. So that's one of the points that a lot of people don't talk about, right? And it what because a lot of times we talk about slavery, chattel slavery, talk about the slaveholders, you immediately think of a white man, but you don't think of the white women that were also raising white men to be slaveholders and raising white girls to be slaveholders. And so that's also another part of the equation. And so when it comes to the laws, these laws were created really to, and it was laws where we couldn't learn how to read and write. It was illegal for us to know.
And it was punishable for people to teach you. So it's is amazing, the hypocrisy will say you have a low IQ. Okay, so let's just do this scenario. You have a low IQ. Okay, I admit to that. Let me read these books and take these tests and do the curriculum so I can increase my IQ. No, let me lynch you.
That's because they're scared because they know we're smart and they know that we're capable of increasing our IQ and our cognitive ability.
And like Dr. Henry Clark said, and I'm paraphrasing, like, losers don't need assistance to lose, right? Like if you go to the basketball court, and I just kind of paraphrase it, he said it a different way, but I put
Mhm.
my own mix on it. But yeah, you go to a basketball court and you see, oh, this dude, I'm way better than him. But since I'm way better than him, let me put some holes in his shoe. Let me kind of break his ankle before, like physically break his ankle. When they say break a leg, let me actually do that. But it's like, why? This guy is inferior to you skill wise, right? Why would you
Yeah.
need to handicap him literally just to prove that he's not better than you? But it goes
Let
back
me
to the
give him
point
the
that you
old
just
Nancy
said.
Kerrigan.
And most people don't know that was the definition of diabolical.
Yeah.
I don't know no sport. Like I love sports, but I would never want to win that bad to do that. And that would, and you know
I'll take
what?
the L. I'll just take the L.
Speaking of that, that kind of just let one to get me to segue. Are you familiar with the athlete John Morant?
No, I'm not familiar. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, basically, he's a player, and he had got some NBA scandals because he was on IG Live, and he had a gun, which was not illegal. It was his gun in front of his house, which the last time I checked, that's not illegal. You can say that it looks improper on the league, but it's not illegal, right? But
Okay.
once he did that, that somehow became a reflection of Black culture, right? The Black community needs to do this. And I'm like, hold on, America is always talking about don't tread and over my cold dead hand. So you love guns. But then when this athlete was doing it, okay, maybe he shouldn't have been doing it. Also, I think he was in a strip club flashing a little pistol or something like that. But that somehow became about Black culture. I'm just specifically bringing up athletes. So with the whole Nancy Kerrigan thing, that was a very violent, brutal act, and nobody brought up, oh, the white community needs to do this. The white community needs to hold her accountable because what did you have to do with John Morant holding up a gun? He's a rich young athlete in his 20s that holds up guns. Okay, how does that fall on the Black community as look at your culture of degeneracy? So there's this huge thing where if one person does something, the entire community gets blamed. So once I said Cecil, same energy, same logic. Okay, cool. So that means all white people are J6ers, right? All of y'all got to be held accountable. All of y'all are genocide supporters. All of y'all support Charlie Kirk. All of y'all support Ben Shapiro. Go down the list. You can't try to say the lone wolves because Kyrie Irving, another athlete, he had shared a video called From Hebrews to Negroes, where this person was talking about the Black Jews. And I guess he was saying some controversial stuff towards Israel. They suspended him. They were calling him anti-Semitic when all he did was share a video that he didn't even make. Meanwhile, you have Elon Musk doing the Hitler sign, and they're saying, "Oh no, uh, it wasn't what it was." So I'm just saying, like, we have to keep the same energy, right? Like right now, they want the Black community to answer for yay, right? The Black community is this. It's like, why the hell should I have to answer for Ye? And fine, if I do have to answer for him, then you must answer for Charlie Kirk, all of the rabid Zionists, Rabbi Shmuley. You have to answer for him. You have to answer for Bibi Netanyahu. If your answer is no, then tell me why. And that same reason is why I don't have to answer for Ye. So speak on it, James.
Let me take this a little further. All right, because I'm gonna take you back. If we got an answer for Ye, y'all need an answer for Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols. Because now I get to say in my head, all y'all are potential bombers. If if we got an answer for Ye, y'all got an answer for Dylan Roof, right? If we got an answer for all these people, y'all got an answer for all those mass shooters. Every single one. If we got an answer for Ye, then y'all got to answer for George W. If we got to answer for Ye, y'all have to answer for Thomas Jefferson and his pedophile ass.
Bruh, I'm glad you brought him up. I was gonna bring him up earlier because he has all sort of monuments. All of the pro-lifers, they talk about protect the kids. Whether they so look, this I got a new talking point, right? Because they're so worried about, and I'm indifferent about this. It's really not an issue for me because I don't see it. But there's this huge backlash of alleged like drag show book readings and stuff like that. I've seen the videos. I haven't seen it, but let me see what is more heinous: a drag show reading to kids, or Thomas Jefferson who raped kids. He raped teenagers, and then he enslaved them, but then he protected them. Like, yeah, y'all are going to be my bastard children, but I'm going to protect y'all. And then he went on to raping other children. He's on document of owning over 600 people. And somehow reading a book in drag to a kid is comparable. I mean, what am I missing here, James?
I'd rather be in drag and reading a book to a kid than being a Catholic priest.
It's like somehow we got lost in the sauce. Like, I'm not advocating for either one. People are going to do what they want to do. Even if I say I'm against the pedophilia and the Catholic Church, is still going to happen. Even if I come out and I say I'm against drag, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So how much of it is an issue truly for you? Like, are you trying to make it an issue? Because for most people, it's not an issue. Just like the trans bathrooms and stuff. Like, is that really an issue? Like, when you went to vote, like, man, forget genocide, forget immigration, forget economics, forget healthcare. Man, those damn trans bathrooms, like, no one I know was voting over that. No one I know was like, well, they are trying to frame it like that. They are saying that the Democrats lost because of a lot of the trans issues, but Kamala Harris wasn't even talking about trans issues. So, like, where do you think this is like really coming from? Is it just like kind of a cope, or? And speaking of that, the Democrats are conceding a lot of ground on it. One of Trump's best ads, and they're saying like this is one of the most iconic ads ever, was when he was saying Kamala's for they them, Donald Trump is for you. And they were like, that was so riveting and so powerful. I'm like, how? That was kind of basic. Like, I get it, but because they played into all of this woke or anti-woke identity politics, then now, because they're always going to hate on black people, but now they're like, aha, we got other people, so they got more people into the smorgasbord. So now they're like, black people, we still hate y'all, but now they're trying to like co-opt and get everyone to like, here, hate on trans, here, hate on this. And I have my disagreements with certain policies and how the Democrats conflate and all this stuff, but to try to just act like trans people are just the villains and that's why the Democrats lost. And a lot of Democrats are actually conceding this ground. They're not even mentioning the genocide. They're saying they lost because of trans bathrooms and being woke and reparations. I was like, Democrats weren't talking about reparations. They got this Lindy Lee bimbo and a bunch of other chicks going around and saying they were woke. They want to give reparations and trans and all the stuff. I'm like, all of that stuff you're proposing, Kamala wasn't running on that. They picked out some obscure Democrats that said, here, this is what they want to do. And then even with the whole Kamala wants to give trans surgeries to prisoners, there was some legislation under Donald Trump where some trans people got surgeries under Donald Trump. But why didn't any of his MAGA nuts not vote for him because of that? So could you speak on that and just how feckless and pathetic the Democratic Party are, where they can just concede in the ground on woke and black issues and trans issues?
Yeah. So as far as them ceding the ground on trans issues, this was the Democrats' way out. They wanted to get out. They didn't really care about trans people. They don't care about them. In fact, one of the groups that's the most overrepresented in deaths as far as LGBTQ people are Black trans women. And they don't give a shit about them, right? And when it comes to the whole trans issue, number one, it was Kamala Harris that said, well, they should respect the law in their states. She didn't even stand by them. She threw them under the bus. So the whole like trans issue isn't even a non-issue, right? Like their population is extremely small. On top of all that, when it comes to the whole woke issue, just because the Democrats co-opted and tokenized something doesn't mean that it's necessarily a wrong thing. They bastardized it and made it something that it really wasn't.
And this is where I was saying the Democrats concede ground. They do not defend. Because they're always, they never hit first. They let the Republicans hit them, stomp them, throw them on the ground, and then they try to get up and say, oh, that's us hitting back. No, you just got up off the ground. Now I'm waiting for you to swing. And then it comes in the when they go low, we go high. I'm like, okay. And then that's why you guys are gonna keep losing. They'll say, they put out these stooges, Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, and all this stuff. And, we got to win with love. It's like, is that how Trump won both of his terms? I'm not saying you got to be hateful and bigoted and stuff, but you do need to basically grow a set and start standing up for the community, right? They'll say like, oh, Black people are their base, which if you're talking about Black community, Black trans women is considered part of that base as well, like you were saying, because they try to act like they're so pro LGBT, right? And then the most marginalized group of that particular like marginalized group, they don't even give a damn about it, right? And that's an issue that I have too with the whole LGBT issues, because for one, they'll conflate it with Black issues, and then not only that, they'll conflate all of the various groups, the identity groups of the LGBT, right? Trans issues are going to have a completely different issue than some queer rich dude in San Francisco, right? Who got called the F word, but this trans person actually got murdered. But Democrats are like, let's protect this dude who got called a racial slur. Unless you get called the N word, then like, we don't care because that was in rap music. Like, yeah, they put the F word in rap music too. So why do you care about that one so much? So that's what I'm saying. Like and I'm glad it kind of segued into this, because I want to find a way to get this, because I talk to different people from the LGBT community, mainly women, like lesbian women and stuff that I've had interactions with. But how do you even feel about the whole term? Because now I've heard actually some people get offended because I think there's extra letters like QIA plus. And when I was talking to one of my homegirls, she was saying like someone was offended that she didn't add the IA and the plus and all the stuff. And I just have my own positions about it, but I'm not of that community, so I can have my opinion, but I also like to learn. I understand it as an umbrella term to build a level of cohesion and solidarity, but I also think it's a form of erasure, or let's just say inadvertent marginalization within trying to represent the marginalization. So like I was saying, you brought up the Black trans people. There's other identities within that banner of LGBT that are going to get more preferential treatment, coverage, etc. So they're saying, yeah, the L stands for lesbian. So, we'll focus on lesbians because lesbians are hot and we want to do this. But trans people, oh, we may not really affirm your identity and your gender. So, yeah, you can be under here, but you'll still be marginalized. Like, have you heard about these dynamics? Like what is your experience? Like, is it okay? Is there any issues, or are trans issues the same as lesbian issues, queer issues the same as trans? Like, it's no different. A white trans is no different than a black trans. Like, could you speak on the nuances and intricacies wherever you want to go with what I just said?
Sure. So unfortunately, there is a bit of a social hierarchy within the LGBTQ community. Now, the QIA plus, queer, intersex, asexual, and other, so on and so forth, right? That's typically what it means. When people get mad about you not including the QIA, they're kind of being nitpicky, right? It's not that huge of a deal, right? And queer is really an umbrella term for everybody that falls under LGBTQIA plus. Really, it's really anybody that's outside of the norm of cisgender heterosexual, right? That's pretty much all it is. In regards to, and I really want to tackle this about, is a trans white person and a trans black person equal? No, because a trans white person still has white privilege, right? A trans black person does not. So of course they're going to be targeted even harder than somebody who's white and trans. White gays definitely do have white privilege, right? A white gay can hide their gay and they can still be white, and I might be able to hide my gay, but I'm still black. So the thing is like, yes, there is a bit of a hierarchy. It's not fair, and I don't think it's right, because look, I'll put it this way. If they're going to come after trans people, then guess what? They're going to come after you next. And also, can we talk about the erasure of bisexual people? Because nobody talks about them.
Damn, I didn't even I didn't even bring them up.
They exist.
No, I said I didn't even bring them up, but like that's a great point. Where do they fit under that umbrella term? Are they just the plus?
No, I mean, it's LGBTQ. B is for bi, right?
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah, but the problem is like everybody forgets them. Or some people
that is true.
Think, oh well, he's bi, he's just gay. It's like, no, they are bi, right?
It seems like they want you to choose a specific, okay, if you like this gender, then you have to stick to that gender. But it's like the whole term was built on inclusivity and intersection of these different identities, and it's literally the second letter that just like now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even hear anything about. Yeah, because it's true when you're they're actually, like you said, they're pretty much diminished. When you hear bisexual, then they're like, oh, you're just gay, like so it's almost saying like you're not bisexual. So it's like you're a mixture, right? You have gay proclivities, but you're also have heterosexual proclivities. That's why it's bisexual. But then they're trying to confine you into this box of, no, you're just this. Like, do you agree with that, or is why is that a wrong perspective?
Here's the issue. People think of different identities and sexualities as this box, that box, that box, that box, that box, that box. It is a spectrum, baby. It is a flow. Like some people are just a little, like, for instance, what's called the Kinsey scale, where I think 0 is completely straight and 7 is completely gay. And a lot of people fall somewhere in between. There are some dudes that consider themselves straight, but let that one right dude come along. Next thing you know, you know what I'm saying? Or the same thing with women. Like, let that one person come around, right? Or sometimes it could be on the opposite of the spectrum, where you have somebody that's mostly likes to dude that likes to be with dudes. But guess what? There may be that one chick that he goes, oh, I think I like her, you know. But it's a spectrum, right? It's bimodal, meaning that there's two poles, but people can float in between it. And another thing is a lot of men are actually more sexually fluid than they're willing to admit. But of course, because of societal pressures and things like that, and the fear of alienation, they don't want to admit to it. So even though they may be bisexual, but they prefer more women than they do men, they're going to say, I'm completely straight. Even though they're looking at some of their homeboys from the side and like, in another universe. You know what I'm saying? And the problem is that you have a lot of people that they think of these different ones in a box, and it's like, nah, bro, it's a spectrum. And so part of that spectrum means that we all flow into one another some way, shape, or form. You know, there's a variety of humans out there. It's not just one or the other. It's not this whole binary thing. Like, for instance, everybody talks about, oh, there's male and female, but they always want to erase the intersex people. They always want to erase them, right? And so it's like, nah, it's like humans come in a variety. And so why are we erasing different parts of different people? It's just like how men are masculine, women are feminine. No, we have both energies, baby.
Are you familiar with
what you need, what you call for? If you take masculine and feminine and put them together, you get humanity.
Are you familiar with Carl Jung? Are you familiar with Carl Jung?
Yes, I am a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so you know about the anima and animus?
He's basically
really. He's basically saying
I read a little bit about it, but I'm not too.
I'll send you some information after, but he's essentially saying what you were saying about anima and animus. Some people reject it, but his theory is that everyone, and I know some high level street dudes that subscribe to this ideology as well. But your anima is your inner feminine. Your animus is your inner masculine. It is saying that essentially that people do have, there's certain things, right or wrong, that are attributed to being feminine, right? If you're like, oh, you're acting sassy and all this, you know what I mean? That's right or wrong, even though men could act sassy, it's just like considered like a feminine trait, and if you are speaking more forcefully, aggressively, just like when they say cuss like a sailor, women cuss, but it's considered like a more masculine thing. So basically the anima and animus is saying that you have both. Not all of them get activated, right? Like you may have an inner feminine, but it gets activated when you're around your partner and you want to act like a little cuddly bear, or you're sick, and you know how some of the biggest buffest dudes, when they get sick, they're like a little teddy bear. That will be considered considered like your inner feminine, if you subscribe to the theory. It's a very compelling argument, hard to refute.
Well, now you got me thinking about the Care Bear stare.
Shout out to the Care Bears. I love that show.
But the whole thing is like, just because you're a man and just because you're masculine doesn't mean that masculinity can't be nurturing. A man being nurturing could also be a man that builds a house.
When people think of masculinity because of the social engineering, and I do believe that dominance is a part of masculinity, but I think people see it in a more destructive way than a constructive way, right?
Okay.
Because you can
yeah.
There's a bunch of things that you can dominate. Like right now, we can play dominoes, and I can dominate you in that. But like,
I see the wordplay.
You feel me? But like, what physical harm is coming to you? We can say, look, man, we got a bunch of lumber. Let's go out there and build a cabin. I can dominate in terms of chopping down more logs than you, being more quicker and efficient.
Cool. Yeah.
But you're not being oppressed, you're not facing barbaric conditions. So being dominant is not always bad. Even a lot of times many people's partner want their partner to be dominant in certain situations, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's not the issue. The issue is, like you said, when it comes to nurturing, because some people think that, hey, I'm only supposed to be dominant, I'm only supposed to be a provider, I'm only supposed to be hard and not let my feelings show and not cry. So nurturing would be, to back to the anima and animus, nurturing is a feminine trait. I don't want to be seen as a feminine male. I don't want to wash dishes, you know what I mean? So like, so they'll take any little thing, like women are supposed to clean, right? No, humans are supposed to clean that after themselves. But a lot of these things are associated as feminine traits. So
Mhm.
some people kind of reject it, or they're not as gung-ho about it, because they think that it's not innate to their like core being.
That's a great explanation. Thank you for that, by the way. And I mean, to be honest with you, I think you and I are basically saying a lot of the same things, just in different ways. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree. And so, like a lot of people, it's kind of funny. A lot of people don't know I'm gay until I say so. I remember one time I was working in a store.
Hey, hold on before you say that, because this should be funny to you. Because have you ever heard this? Like, bro, you don't look gay.
Story of my life. Story of my life.
I was like, bro, you do not look gay. That's hella funny.
Yeah,
So actually say what you're gonna say and then transition into like the black dandyism. Could you speak on that a little bit?
the
Are
black
you
what?
familiar? Dandy, the black dandyism, like have you heard about that with like the Met Gala and all the other
Oh yeah, I saw a little bit of that. Okay, sure.
cool.
So I remember one time I was inside the store. I was working in a department store, and I had, even though I'm open about it, I just don't verbalize it. I don't advertise it. And so I remember one time I was working in the tools department. Right, I used to work at Sears, and so you get a lot of men coming through the tools department. And one of my coworkers, she was with me, right, and me and her, we're real cool, right. And I saw this dude. He was a baddie. He was a baddie. And I was just like, damn. And then she goes, wait, are you? I was like, yeah. She goes, oh, what? And I was just like, you didn't know? I was like, I thought you had that intuition. You should know by now.
Hey,
But
don't they call it gaydar?
yeah, right? She ain't have it that day. I don't know. Maybe she didn't take her Flintstones vitamins. But anyways, so the thing is like a lot of people don't realize. And plus, the way I grew up, very religious. And then also I have two brothers that are very, very masculine, straight and masculine. So for me, it's like this is just who I am naturally, right? But at the same time, like I get it, like and of course, like dudes will be talking to me about some girl and they'd be like, oh man, is she fine, blah blah blah. Here's one of my favorite things I like to say. I'm gay, I'm not blind. So if I see a girl and I think if she's a baddie, I'm gonna let you know. I'll be like, hey bro, she bad. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no,
let you know.
that's always weird. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's always weird when they try to think like, okay, a gay brother wouldn't know what like a hot woman looks like. But on the flip side, even if you're a straight dude, bro, you know who the handsome dudes is, bro. Like even if you like, I'm not swinging that way, but you know that the chicks will dig Shamar Moore or Morris Chestnut or Tay Diggs. Like you don't have to dig them, but you know, okay, yeah, this like if I go to the beach, I'm gonna have some competition with bro. Like you know that. Does that make you gay? Like you don't need to be gay to. So there's all sorts of misconceptions too, where and so because this is a great conversation, because usually people are too afraid to talk about it, so they just always have the stereotypes, and then they put their misconceptions on the community. One of the things is that you know you were kind of in, not you specifically, but like people were not born gay. You were indoctrinated to be gay. So there had to be something. So maybe you went to one of those drag queen story times. Maybe it was a bunch of Democrat wokeness. Like what do you say to that? Because it's like when you were talking about victim blaming, it's kind of, they're like kind of telling you you're delusional. You're not really gay. You're forcing yourself to be gay. Like you're really a straight man in a gay man's disposition or demeanor. It's like, bro. So like I've heard people, they try to analyze and say, no, like you had to be abused. There's this other thing too, which there are some people that have been abused, but to try to just put that abuse on every gay person, I've literally heard like an exponential amount of times. Oh yeah, he was abused. Oh yeah, his daddy was playing with him. Oh, he had that funny uncle. It's like they never think that someone could just grow and mold. They say it's impossible for you to be born that way. So like what do you say to that? Because I know you speak profoundly for a lot of people, and a lot of people are scared to come out with their identity because they don't even know what point did they turn gay. Were they born that way? Was it high school indoctrination? Like, I think that people try to erase people's mental and bodily autonomy of them embracing their sexuality versus a lot of people projecting that it had to be some external force that made you like James, you weren't this way, you got turned into this way. What do you say to that?
Look, I'll put it to you this way. Growing up, all the times I saw straight people kissing, all the times I watched them Disney movies where Ariel kissed her man, Jasmine kissed her man. Was I looking at Jasmine in Aladdin? No, I was looking at Aladdin. Here I was, 7 years old, looking at old boy with the open vest. I was like, right? But here's the thing: if there's a gay agenda, then there's also a straight agenda, and it's working on me. So I don't know what's up with that.
Why why don't they ever talk about the straight agenda? Because they do. From everything I've seen, it was like the traditional, what they say, like nuclear family. I know this is why all the pushback now, because they're saying, okay, you guys are getting too much visibility now of the LGBT, but like up into all the people in their 30s and stuff, what will we have married with children, right? There was no trans people around there. What the Cosby Show, what they had, like Saved by the Bell, like all of these iconic shows, like all that stuff was showing guy, hot guy gets with hot girl, successful husband gets with, like there was not a lot of agenda stuff. So suddenly, what, just in a matter of years, because there you see more representation, suddenly that's making everyone gay. What about the people that are 40, 50? Like, what turned them gay? You see what I'm saying? Like, what movie was it that I don't even know any movies that you can watch and say I'm gay now. Like, it's just like watching John Wick and I'm like, I'm a killer now. So I just had to add that because it's like there's never people, there's no agenda for straightness, and then they'll turn around and say, well, we need more babies and this is God's plan. So you're saying that there is an agenda, to keep everyone heterosexual, which I'm not saying that there's a problem or anyone. I'm just saying, like, you're trying to say that there's an agenda for this when there's more proof that there's an agenda for something else. You know what I mean?
I mean, everybody's talking about, oh my God, well, if there's more gay people, that means that's going to be the end of humanity as we know it, because people will stop procreating. That's the biggest crock of BS I ever heard in my life. Because here's the thing, if you're somebody who believes in God and you believe that man has been in existence for only less than 10,000 years, you mean tell me in less than 10,000 years the entire population is not straight and hetero? right? In that amount of time. Or if you don't believe in God, you mean the human race has been in existence for over 300,000 years and we haven't weeded out gay people? We haven't even managed to weed out all the gay animals. And yes, there are animals that also practice homosexuality too. So ultimately, that means we've been around since the beginning of time. And so if we've been around since the beginning of time, then that gay agenda should have took over thousands and thousands of years ago, which means that we should have went extinct thousands and thousands of years ago. Yet we still here, right? And there's still more straight people than gay people. So that's a whole argument.
Is significantly more. Like, is the gay population even in double digits yet? The last time I checked, it wasn't. I'm talking about specifically America.
I mean, the gay population is going to hover around between 12 and 15%.
Okay, so
I
that
don't
would
think it's
mean
going to go higher
85.
than that.
But so that would mean 85% is not. So, instead of focus on what the 85% is doing, we have to let's demonize the 15% because we're afraid of them. But you're 85%, right? Like what, you have no autonomy, no control. Are you a victim? So it goes back to like the victim blaming, but there's the continuation. You have to blame the victim, but then you also have to make a case that you are a victim. So you're saying, oh, they're not a victim, but I am a victim, so feel sorry for me. Like, hold on, you have all the power, the resources, the representation. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, imagine that they were showing, and this is not really the ratio, but just imagine this. They're showing straight couples 85% of the time and gay couples 15% of the time. But you believe that the gay couples is so grotesque that should be shown 5% of the time, 10%, like 85% of the time is not good enough for, like, what more are you demanding, that they should just not be shown at all? Like, I see me, I'm more of the people, like, get people to say exactly what they want, because sometimes people are delusional, like, oh no, we're post-racial and America's not segregated, America's not homophobic, America's not racist. Like, yeah, it is. And I prefer people to use these terms outwardly and openly, not because that's what I want, it's just because that's how they feel. So I'd rather them be that, because then now I don't need to, if you see a wolf with his fangs showing, you're like, I'm not going near that. But if that wolf is looking like a little, a little chihuahua, you're like, oh, maybe I can pet it, and then it bites you. No, show me the fangs so I can just stay away. Call me the slurs. Tell me your disdain for my community so I can stay away and I can build with people that don't have this disgusting ideology in view. And before I move on, and I know we'll be getting ready to shut down pretty soon because I want to be respectful of your time. I've never talked to a person of the community that on this. You're familiar with the term pause, right?
Oh, we have a term what?
Pause.
Doesn't sound familiar.
So like someone will be saying something like it will be something obscure like what you about to do? Oh, I'm about to go fuck with my homeboys. Pause. So the pause means that, have you ever heard the term no homo?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so pause is just like the evolved version of no homo. So basically, like, if hey, what you about to do? I'm about to go fuck with my homeboys. No homo. Because I'm saying I'm about to go hang with my homeboys. Instead of hang with my homeboys, I'm using the term fuck. Some people will misinterpret that as gay and homosexual, so that's why you say no homo. So now instead of saying that, they'll say pause, but they'll do it for random shit where it's about oh, where you at? You at the gym? Hey, could you pick up my balls for me? Pause. I'm in my basketballs. Like, So it's like one of those unnecessary things. So when you think of it, just think of the no homo term. So when you hear that term, like, is it super offensive to you? Do you just not care about it? Like, uh, and before you answer, I'll just say this. I don't like it. Cassidy had a line. He said, "I don't say no homo. I think saying no homo is so homo." But it was funny, like a little funny rap lyric. But my thing is like there's a lot of things that has nothing to do with gayness or homosexuality, and then you try to interject that in there in a disparaging way. Sometimes it's just satirical and hilarious, but like
Yeah,
I'm just trying to give a complete analysis of it. But
sure.
then why are you even thinking about some gay shit when when I'm just like, so that just kind of go back to where you were saying like more people are fluid. It's like when you see people foaming at the mouth, fuck those fucking maggots, and man, they're a bane to society. I'm like, bruh, like, why are you drooling at the mouth over some gay people? Like, if you're not gay and you getting so much coochie, like, why are they so much an issue? So to me, I kind of like, bruh, are you like, do you got like a hankering, to get bent up? Like, if you do, like, that's fine, but like, just drop the act that you just, hate. So sometimes when I hear people saying pause and no homo, like, why are you even thinking about some gay shit? Like, there's nothing wrong with that if you're gay, but you're trying to say pause because that sounds gay, and don't say that. But it sounds gay to who? Like, why are you thinking it? And like, you'll hear it just at random times, where it's like, oh, here, I got a McFlurry. Hey, can I get some nuts with that? Pause. Like, they'll just say it. I'm like, bruh, like, what was gay about that? And actually, why are you thinking about gay nuts? Like, that's cool if you are, but like, don't hide behind, oh, you're getting some nuts, so pause, no homo. So could you speak, on the phrase, like, does it offend you? Is it amusing? What?
Um, it doesn't offend me. It just it's eye rolling. It's like, oh, whatever, because it's like, why do you need to put a disclaimer? Why do you need to have a disclaimer over your sexuality? If I'm gonna hang out with my homegirl, do I need to say pause?
Hey, I never use that terminology. Why do you need a disclaimer for you? So we both could take. You feel me? You take a little bit of some of my recipe. I take a little bit of some of yours. Yeah, that was a good one right there, because I mean, that is true, because this is another thing too, where I'll be like, James, man, you've been a solid dude, bro. Like, and I just want to let you know I love you. Pause. No homo. Like, bro, why are you? I'm not trying to get with you. I'm not sending you
Yeah.
some explicit stuff. I'm just saying you're my brother. I love you. And then people will interject no homo and pause. And sometimes it's like it shows that like sometimes we're too kind of cowardly to show our love to other men when it's not even like romantic. Like, bro, I'm not trying to holler at you. I'm just saying you're a good dude. I love you. And somehow that's like construed as some gay stuff. But go ahead, bro.
Uh, my question uh, is your need to say? I would ask them: is your need to say pause? Is that your form of resisting temptation? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Like you're trying to fight some demons. I don't. Hey, I'm just saying, you try to wrestle, you trying to squabble up with some demons, right? Because you have to put that disclaimer out there. I ain't gay. I ain't gay. No, 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 not me, not me. Nobody asked if you was, and even if you were, nobody would give a shit. So who cares? I, that's it's like it's like okay, I can say this openly. My homegirl, Sabby Saps. That's my homegirl. I love her. But do I feel the need to say pause if I say that? Doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. Like you trying to get with Sabby? Like, no, she's a great person. I mean, what is not to love about her? And
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah,
I
it's
mean, maybe
extremely
to get a slice
childish
of
and
pizza.
foolish. Yeah, exactly. You could
I
crack
mean,
a
she's
little
going to
beer
need
or
no
something.
carb, but I'll probably talk her into maybe getting some pepperoni. We'll add some mushrooms and green peppers, but that's about it. But the whole thing about like, why do I need to give a disclaimer? And my thing is, why aren't you strong enough to stand on your own without having a disclaimer?
And then what are you trying to prove and to whom? Because it seems like you're trying to convince yourself that you're not gay. No homo. Like, if you're not homo, why are you even interjecting that? You know what I mean? Like, imagine you push somebody. I ain't no punk. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not a punk, then like you don't need to go around saying that. You know what I mean? It's just extremely idiotic and foolish. You know what I mean? But I liked your perspective that you had on that. So I just had a couple more things, and then we can kind of go through them a little bit more rapidly, so we can wrap up here. But when I was speaking about the black dandyism, which is a term that I was unfamiliar with it, the meaning is black dandyism is a fashion movement where black individuals use clothing and personal style, often drawing inspiration from European dandyism, as a form of self-expression, resistance, and asserting their identity in a world that often marginalizes them. It's a strategic and a subversive use of style to challenge the racial hierarchies and a reimagined black identity. So it's kind of similar to some of the stuff that we were saying.
Okay.
A bunch of people wear certain stuff where, there's a lot of men and males that wear dresses now, skin tight clothing, revealing clothing. So that's one of the things where people are saying, hey, we can test the boundaries. Yes, I wear a dress, but I'm still masculine. Or a woman dresses more masculine, but she still maintains her femininity. So that's kind of what it's about. And I think it's more about being more fluid with your fashion and your identity, and then celebrating that. Because oftentimes, if you do dress like that, you will be considered gay or a slur. But it's like, nah, this person is just probably eccentric, into dandyism. So have you ever experienced that too? Because kind of like how people are saying like, you don't look gay, there's also the thing of like, you don't dress gay. Because like there's this stereotype, oh, you're gay, you're supposed to wear tight pants. Like, what, gay people don't wear baggy pants? Or you're gay, so you have to be dressed to the nines, and manicure and do all this other stuff. But there's a bunch of gay people that wear Wranglers and Timberland boots and all this stuff. So there's just this almost a caricature when it comes to like gay fashion and stuff, where it's like, here, you have to be able to be flaming so that I can clearly understand that you're gay. It's like you kind of want people to wear their gayness on their sleeve, so like why. They wear basketball jerseys too. Like, not every gay person is wearing some mini skirt or some like jeggings or something.
Bruh, look, this is my nail, right? Not long at all.
Was that a clear coat? Because that did look like a clear coat.
Nah, I just eat well.
Oh, what? Okay.
I eat my vegetables. For instance, I know gay dudes that sag. I know gay dudes that wear jerseys. I know gay dudes that wear fitted caps. I know gay dudes that can squabble up and will give a fade better than some straight dudes. So what, right? I've seen some fine looking girls, fine looking women, put on a suit, but they still got that makeup on, face beat, right? But then they got on the pinstripe suit, fitted, right? So what? Who cares? Does it look good though? Does it look good though? All right then. All right, fine. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. And the thing is, it's like, here's the thing. Masculinity in this system is a performance. It is men performing for other men so that they feel like they're worthy to other men. I'm a grown ass man. I don't need to feel worthy for no other man. I'm gonna do what I do. If you don't like it, all right, go over there, kick some rocks, right? Why does my worth have to be contingent on whether some other random dude sees me as worthy because of how I dress? Am I my own man? Okay, then. So if I feel the need, if I want to wear a floral print, I'm gonna wear a floral print, and I'm gonna rock that shit. Okay, cool. But why am I gonna allow some other man to have a say in my ear and be like, "Oh, well, you shouldn't wear that because that look gay"? So it's not you wearing it, is it? I then step off. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so that's the thing. Like, I'm not gonna perform for some other dude just to prove myself as worthy. And that's the problem with masculinity today. Not masculinity. It's the distorted form of masculinity. Is that it forces men to perform for other men so that they can see each other as worthy. When in reality, you need to have self-worth enough to go, I'm gonna go my own way. That's what being a man is. Going your own way. That's what being an adult is, going your own way. And people who hate on that, they're mad because they're not brave enough to do it. That's just it. They're not brave. And then they get jealous of the ones who are brave enough to do it. This is why you got a lot of dudes that get pissed off at trans women because they're brave enough to live their truth without giving a shit of what everybody else thinks. Right?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. One of the main people, are you familiar with this trans person named Dylan Mulvaney?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dylan don't give
So
a damn about what other people think.
not a damn thing. And they were pissed because they were like, how could they get this Budweiser, which I don't think they actually made a line of Budweiser. They were just doing like a special promotion, and they
Yeah.
made a Budweiser, put Dylan's face on it, and then suddenly they were like, look, we're gonna boycott. So you want to talk about snowflake? You want to talk about facts don't care about your feelings? You are so idiotic. You are so pathetic that you see one trans person on a beer that wasn't even like mass produced, and suddenly you want to boycott that beer. It was, and that makes me think, like when I was saying, like people get outraged, foaming at the mouth when you were talking about other gays. So it's like most of those dudes, let's be honest, they would have hit Dylan Mulvaney. Like if they had the opportunity, they probably would have chugged a couple beers and would have had some relations with Dylan Mulvaney. Because why else would you be outraged, right? I could say, okay, they had a beer with Dylan Mulvaney on it, and they had the same beer without his, their face on it, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
could have just got a different beer, but instead you had to go on a whole campaign to say how much we hate this trans person. But it's just almost like the kind of black fatigue, right? You hate Dylan Mulvaney so much that you're making a bunch of content about Dylan Mulvaney. You hate black people so much that all through your timeline you're railing against black people. That doesn't sound like fatigue. That sounds like obsession.
Yeah. It's like a phrase that one of my homeboys said back in the day. My name must be sweet because it is bees up in everybody's mouth. Right? Look. I used to be an evangelical. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Oh, 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 so that's what's under your heart. Because you're speaking about it all the time. Oh, you got oh, you keep talking about trans people. That makes me think. Why is this obsession for? What are you getting out of this? What have you been looking at online at 2:30 in the morning? You know what I'm saying? That's my question. Why are you so obsessed with them? Right? Is it really because you feel like they're a degenerate on society? Because here's the thing: how are they harming you? Did they hurt you? Did some trans person bully you when you were growing up? What happened? Is a trans person in this room with us right now?
Oh well, their big thing is that they keep trying to play sports with their little daughters, so that's
Oh, so okay, so you got they have a problem with people playing sports with their daughters, but they never have a problem with them playing sports with our sons. Because it's going to be horrible if a trans man decides to join the basketball team and play some ball with us, right? So you got a problem with that, right? You're gonna have a problem with that? See, the thing is like when you flip
yeah.
it falls apart.
Yeah, one of my main tactics is I usually just take people's argument and then, like I said, I keep the same energy, apply the same logic, and like I said, when you flip it, many times they can't really stand on what they said because there's rules for thee, not for me. So that's all it's about. And like I said, there's a lot of things that I disagree with. But on one hand, if you're saying this is acceptable, this is the standard, then we have to uphold that standard. And I'm also of saying, okay, if you think that this is an issue, here, provide a viable solution to rectify, to mitigate, or to improve said scenario. If you're whining about a problem without if you are even talking about a problem without also presenting a solution in that same diatribe, then that's considered whining because all you're doing is complaining. Oh man, the stove is too hot. The stove is too hot. Damn man, the stove is too hot. Like, are you going to turn the stove down? Are you going to check the furnace, or there's the gas operating, or are you just going to say how hot it is? And that's what many people do. Trans are doing this, blacks are doing this, okay, cool, blacks are doing this. What's the solution? Blacks are doing this. You know what I mean? Like, if you hate trans so much, then come up with some clear legislation to say how much you hate trans. And then they turn around and say, oh no, we don't hate trans, so why are you attacking them? Oh, we don't hate black people. Okay, come up with some legislation to rectify the wrongs. Oh no, well, we're not going to do anything, so just stop talking about it. You know what I mean? It's like you chain up a junkyard dog, but you want that junkyard dog to act the same way as Lassie.
Yeah.
Like, come on now, it's not going to be the same. It wasn't grown up in a house with a white picket fence. You chained him up. It's a malnourished dog, so if that dog snaps, what were you expecting? You know what I mean? Same thing too when they're like with the genocide in Gaza. What are you expecting from Hamas? They want Hamas to just be these super obedient, subservient people that just get bombed into oblivion and nothing happens. Rodney Hendrick Jr., yeah, okay, cool. He could have went after someone else, but when someone loses their kids, they become deranged. Every action has a reaction. And I say it's not right or wrong, it's reality and it's human nature. It's a lot of things that I don't want to see happening, but I would be foolish to try to act like, it's not the law of attraction with the way these things happen. So I want to talk to you real quick about because we talked about the duopoly and all this stuff, and I know you're familiar with the term TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. And I've even had some people attack me today. I've seen some people attacking a friends of RBN, Roger Meadows, and other people because he said that he didn't vote for Kamala or Trump. So they said, yep, you're part of the problem too, because if you don't vote for Trump, basically, if you didn't vote for Trump or Kamala, that was a vote for Trump. If you voted for Jill Stein, a vote for Jill Stein is a vote for Trump. So the TDS derangement syndrome is otherworldly right now. Do you feel guilty as a voter that you allowed Trump to get into office? Also, do you believe that Kamala would have been better on Gaza?
I reject the premise of the question. I didn't allow Trump to do anything. You know, in fact, if anything, Kamala was supposed to be the main opposition. She allowed Trump to win. It wasn't me. Don't look at me. I didn't vote for her. Don't look at me. I didn't vote for Trump.
But hold on,
So
James. Did she allow it to win, or was it
she allowed
because
him to
of?
win. She allowed him to win because her inactions and her avoiding the topics that needed to be discussed and her answering for the issues that her administration did, she did not do. So therefore, yes, she allowed Trump to win.
But I was under the impression that it was because of racism, sexism, and misogyny, and people didn't want to vote for a woman because they don't like Bernie Sanders. They didn't want to see a woman lead, and they definitely didn't want to see a woman of color. Isn't that why she didn't win?
That is a small factor. It is relative, not absolute.
Not the main factor, right?
No, no. Because the thing is, like, for instance,
Because that's what Biden said. Biden was on The View and he was saying that due to racism, sexism, that's why she didn't win. Also, Biden told her, no daylight, kid. Don't try to separate yourself. Remember, Biden was coming out and said Kamala was in lockstep with me, and he told her behind the scenes, do not try to distance yourself from me. So he did handicap her, but at the same time, now he's saying the racism and misogyny is why she didn't win.
his racism and his misogyny. Were we not supposed to talk about that? Or like Denzel, I'm sorry, like Samuel L. Jackson said, did I break your concentration? Because my thing is, it's like, no, because I mean, if she stuck with him, that means she stuck with him, including his racism and his misogyny. Because wasn't she the one that attacked him for the racist busing rejection that he had?
She said that little girl was me.
Mm-hmm. So
She
what happened to
made
that little girl? You locked her in the basement?
she made shirts after that. And remember, at that point, she was surging. Remember, after that time, she had surged, and then they got on the stage with Tulsi, and then
Ooh,
then that surge.
Made in the water.
Yeah, that was a fatality. You know, even though Tulsi has turned into a tap dancer since then, but that was
Yeah,
still a glorious victory. So, James, you don't have any regrets for voting for Jill Stein, who
no,
some call
no.
a Russian asset, a Russian bot who only comes out every 4 years to help the Democrats lose, and also the reason why Hillary Clinton lost is because Jill Stein. You have no regrets voting for that person?
As somebody that thinks that both parties are really the one and the same because they work together, if one side of that duopoly loses, I'm always happy. I'm
Yeah,
fine
it's
with it.
it's really like a victory. That's what I was saying. Like, I didn't support Trump. I didn't support Kamala either. So, and I voted for Jill Stein, and I actually reluctantly voted for Jill Stein just because me personally, I wasn't fully satisfied or convinced about her black outreach. I liked her black agenda, but just the way it was implemented, her outreach, etc., I still believe that she was the better candidate. So I was able to still be impartial in that regard. There's no perfect candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually probably would have voted for Dr. Cornel West if he was on the ballot out here in California, but he wasn't. So I thought Jill Stein was the next best thing. I thought both of their platforms were similar. You can split hairs and say which one was better. So if the platforms are similar, after that, it came to me down to the advocacy, like who is more fervent with the advocacy, who could I truly believe in. But if I'm also going by the logic of lesser of two evils, then she by 20 miles was the lesser of two evils. So it was a no-brainer in that regard. So I don't get how some people could say, okay, that they'll say the lesser of the evil is the metrics, and then I choose the lesser of the two evils, and then they say you helped get Trump. But you guys were saying the whole time that the way to vote is by choosing the lesser of the two evils. So that's what I did. But what they want you to convince is that Jill Stein is not the lesser of two evils, that Kamala was the lesser of two evils. So that's why they want you to feel guilty, because they're saying you made a mistake in choosing the lesser of two evils. And now that's where there's the whole 92% means, where they're like, yeah, we're just sitting back and letting the country burn because we did the right thing and voted for Kamala, who was the lesser of two evils, but by whose metrics? Like what is Kamala lesser on? All she is just a female version of Joe Biden.
Yeah, she's really Donald Trump in drag. But here's my thing.
That was more appropriate.
Yeah, you just put him in the lakefront. Anyways, but here's my problem. It really wasn't even the lesser of two evils. You had two evils and one good. So if you have two evils and one good, which one do you choose?
Yeah, you got to frame it that way, right? Two evils and one good. I choose the good, and they're like, "Why didn't you choose the lesser of two evils?" I chose to not choose evil at all. There's two vials of poison, and then there's one protein shake, and I'm like, I do need more protein intake. And you drink the protein, it's like, why didn't you get the poison?
Because it was protein and it was delicious. It had apple, and it had some grape, and it had spinach. It was pretty good. And guess what? It's moving me. Look, you got that fiber in there. I'm not sick to my stomach. Good. Oh, but you guys wanted me to choose one of the two that were going to keep the genocide going. You guys were going to force me to choose one of the two that were going to continue to displace Black Americans in this country. You were going to want me to continue with one or two that didn't even give a shit about giving us our reparations that we are owed. You wanted me to continue one of the two that was going to continue the mass incarceration of our people. Like, I'm not Boo-Boo the Fool. Like, what the heck are you guys going to tell me to pick the lesser of two evils when they're both evil, when I got somebody who's going the complete opposite direction? If two people are leading me to death and one person is leading me to survival, guess what I'm going to go with?
Yeah,
okay, all y'all want to go that way? All right, fine, but I'm not going to contribute to it.
And this is the thing too about Jill Stein, who they say is like a Putin puppet and a Russian asset. So let me get this straight. Putin's puppet is willing to put a reparations plan and agenda forward for us. But the Democrats who say, I never heard the Green Party say that Black Americans are their base. I have heard the Democrats say that though. So the Green Party, who never said that we're their base, puts forward a reparations and Black agenda strategy. Meanwhile, the Democrats who say Black people, we love you, and Joe Biden saying he wouldn't have got elected without Black people. No mention of reparations. He's saying nothing will fundamentally change. He actually was scolding Black people, saying y'all need to start working with the Hispanics, even though when we were even though we've been the largest non-white ethnic group, they never told the other groups, y'all need to be working with the Blacks, y'all need to be working with them. So they do all of this, they show the disdain, and that's why many people are just like, hey, look, if we can't all be comfortable, we'll all be equally uncomfortable. So when the Republicans are in office, they spread the brutality, right? They screw over everybody. And I wish they weren't screwing over everybody. But a lot of Black Americans are like, hey, look, if we're going to get screwed over, then let everybody else get screwed over. And y'all can see how it is, with the Democrats specifically target Black people and screw them over because they want to suppress, the voting power. They want to take out all of the leverage so they don't have to do anything for us. They want us to continue to be sheep herded to the party to vote. And then while they usher in the new Americans and different other groups, buffer groups, where they can say, hey, look, we have to help people of color, and that includes a bunch of other people. I'm like, who is this, nebulous term that you're referring to? But all it is just a blanket term to just make sure that they don't have to do anything specifically for us. That is
Yeah.
more heinous. Like, who do you think is more heinous? Someone that is telling you straight up, James, I don't give a F about you. I never liked you, and you are a piece of crap, right? Versus
Mhm.
someone that's like, James, I really love you. You're the greatest things to slice bread. And as soon as you turn around, they stab you in the back.
B-Eazy, are you familiar with the term "I can show you better than I can tell you"?
I am.
Okay. Let's say, I'm your father, and as your father, I what would you rather me do? Tell you how much I love you all the time and tell you how proud I am of you. But the lights get turned off. The house is in ought to be condemned. You don't have any clothes to wear for school. I'm never in your life. I only come around every 4 years, you know, to get some money off your mom. And I pat you on the head and tell you to be good. And I'm going to the store, give me some cigarettes, but you'll never see me for another 4 years. You rather that or somebody come in? I'm your father again, and but this time I don't really say much, but I spend time with you. I show affection. I make sure that you have all the material conditions are met for you in order to have a decent life, but also I'm present. I joke with you. I talk to you. I care for you emotionally, mentally, and physically. And I'm always there. And you never have to question whether or not I'm coming back. Even though I don't say much, I'm a quiet guy. Which version of me would you want?
I will say the latter.
That's what black people need. You can show me better, you can tell me. Problem is, Democrats are all this. They're all talk, no action. So this is why a lot of black people are just the
Well,
same reason.
actually, I would disagree with that. They
Hmm.
do have actions. They have feckless and ineffective actions. Cory Booker stood on the floor for 25 hours. That was action, but it was ineffective action. What was he babbling about? Was he saying anything about reparations? Did he even mention the genocide? Did he talk about universal health care? Did he talk about a federal jobs guarantee? That you can't, and I'm not saying you specifically, but no one could say that 24 hours railing against the air quote establishment is not action. But the thing is, it's political theater and symbolic nothing burgers. The Democrats recently took action going to that ICE facility.
Yeah.
What is that going to translate to? All that is political theater to show that, hey, look, we're fighting for you symbolically. So some of these senators, they flew to El Salvador, right? They took action, but they won't go to a private prison in their same state that has similar brutal conditions. So they are taking action. It's just
Hmm.
very ineffective actions, and they're misguided actions. And that would be my position with that. Even like Bernie Sanders, right? The oligarch tour. No
Hmm.
one could say that they're not taking action. 30,000 plus people going to these rallies, but Is that really going to translate to votes? Is it going to translate to new votes? And many
Mhm.
people are going out there for the pageantry. Hey, look, there's Bernie Sanders, or hey, look, maybe I'll see some other hot leftists out there. You know what I mean? A lot of people going out there for the social gathering of it, not the true liberation
True.
movement of it. So actions are being done. It's just a lot of ineffective, misguided, disorganized actions.
Yeah. Um, I will adopt your version of the semantics of the point because you're correct. There is action. It's just ineffective action. So I'll amend my statement by saying ineffective action. But yeah, I agree. Um, Even the kneeling of kente cloth, right?
Yeah, that one had me kind of furious, to be honest. And then even when you did it, Nancy Pelosi could barely get up. She had to, get help. And I'm not trying to like be ageist or anything. Like they're all in their 80s and all this stuff, but I'm just saying no one was asking for that. you know no one was asking for a George Floyd statue or anything like that. Like if they said, hey, we'll never make a George Floyd statue, but we'll actually do this police reform bill, I will be okay with that. Like that's what we're asking for. Tangibles. A statue is not tangible, because usually a lot of these statues, when they commission it, it's not a Black American. If they do get someone Black, it's usually someone with a foreign background that doesn't really represent our specific culture. So it's just a lot of nuance into it. But this segues perfectly into what I want to talk about briefly about the cops, right? When it comes to police reform, I've heard James Carville and obviously other Democrat shills and shysters talk about. James Carville recently said defund the police were I'm paraphrasing, but he said they were like kind of the stupidest words ever uttered in American politics. Mind you, there were slave owning presidents in American politics saying a lot worse things than defund the police. But that lets you know where we're at, and what type of privilege and what type of lens that people are looking through.
Yeah.
This is another thing that I was discussing with the Democrats, because when people are saying defund the police, just like how you were able to say, okay, here, let me amend my statements to account for the semantic element that I just added. With Cenk Uygur, all these people, oh, defund the police is horrible. Why didn't you adopt a new phrase? Why didn't you remix it when they knew that they were simply saying, hey, look, well, we're going to, fund the police to the levels that you've been funding them. It's just we're going to reallocate some of those funds. So we may be defunding a certain aspect of the police, right? Instead of you getting 6 million for military grade weapons, you get 5 million, and then we'll take that 1 million and do these other programs that will help. Right. So it is the whole defund police is a semantic argument. People use defund police because it's a more controversial, more incendiary term, and it gets people all riled up. Where were the Democrats to defend it and say, look, maybe defund the police is not the great one, but what we mean is this. They didn't. They just conceded the ground. Joe Biden said, we don't want to defund the police. We want to refund the police. So when it comes to the policing and the issues of Cop City and the barbaric nature of many cops, people are always framing it as a Black issue. So that is why a lot of people don't want to have any traction with it or move on it, because, oh, well, it's Black people are inherently criminal. 1350, they're the savages. Why would we want to change what police are doing? Let them police the Negroes, right? But then when you see these protests, who are they sending out there? Police to brutalize Colombian protesters and all this stuff. When they use Cop City, that Cop City is not only going to be used on Black people. So what they do to us in the morning, they'll come and do to you in the nighttime. But you just saying, oh yeah, well, they're abusing the Blacks morning, noon, and night. yeah, they eventually they get tired of abusing black people and they kind of want to move their ire to other people, immigrants, trans, whatever. Like, so I just it's just really pathetic to see many leftists and Democrats just concede the ground on the whole defund the police. Cool, you hate the term. Kyle Kalinski's crystal balls, they've all done it. Why haven't you come up with another term? Why aren't you excessively explaining what the term actually means? This is why a lot of people are saying, like, hold your own nuts, and some people, unfortunately, they don't care what's happening with the Abrego, Garcia, and other people, because some people are saying, you guys said that all cops weren't bastards. You said that you guys should. So they're like, if it's not a racist country and police are all fine, then everything the police are doing is on the up and up. Then they're switching and saying, no, no, the police are being brutal and barbaric. Like, hold on. We have been telling y'all that. And y'all told us to shut up and stop acting like victims. Y'all kept framing police as a black issue. And now what are they doing? Picking up undocumented immigrants, illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, American citizens. All it is stopping and frisk, but instead of they just added non-citizens to it. You know what I mean? And they widened the stop and frisk pool. Now it's actually more diabolical. Instead of stop and frisk, to stop and deport. But these are the same people that are brutalizing black people. So I just want you to speak on the whole cops and like how it being framed as a black issue, to me, is partly of the reason why it doesn't get as much political traction, because it seems as like you're helping the blacks when it's like, no, police Americans of all ethnic and racial backgrounds.
Look, y'all cried and moaned when Colin Kaepernick took a knee. Now you got Rodney Hinton Jr. Right? That's what you get. Chickens came home to roost. And so now you guys are like, oh my God, I can't believe he would kill another police officer, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, y'all should have listened to us when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee. And wasn't it Donald Trump that said, get that SOB out of here? Right? And so now black people are tired. And so now we're not taking it no more. Because you didn't defund the police like we demanded. Because they're literally killing us. We had enough after Sonia Massey. That's when black people collectively, we were like, all right, enough. And all it took was one more murder. One more. And now you got people, particularly a lot of white people, going, oh no, see now they're going to have copycats against the police. Well, you killed a man's son. What did Murph on the movie Interstellar close to the end say? She said no parent should have to watch their child die. And yet Rodney Hinton Jr., he watched his child die.
He also watched that police footage that was inaccurate when they said, hey, his son pulled a gun and did all this other stuff. He saw that what they said on the body cam didn't align with what their statement was. And, he became emotionally distraught and mentally deranged. And it's unfortunate the outcome that happened, but we can't just act like it just happened in the void.
No. And the whole semantics argument about, oh my God, well, defund the police is a horrible argument. I don't care what the hell you call it as long as you do it. I've spoken about, like, back in the day with Medicare for all. There was a point in time, I think it was back in summer of 2020, when Donald Trump was like, maybe we should just give Medicare to everybody, right? Those of us on the left collectively went, hey, don't move. Let him do it. Just don't move. And then the liberals, like, messed things up. Because if Donald Trump was going to give everybody Medicare, it was like, all right, cool. But
Instead of even acknowledging that, they attacked him. That
yeah,
was probably one of the only, outside of the First Step Act and some other around the edges things. That is the time. When people talk about, when it comes to Israel, they talk about bipartisanship. The military industrial complex, bipartisanship. Here you have a right wing president talking about universal health care in the height of a pandemic, or some call the plandemic, whatever you want to believe. At the height of that, he's talking about, what, this is actually a really good deal. You had Democrat shills like Joy Reid and other people speaking in favor of universal health care at that time, and all the liberals and the neocons was talking about was Russia, and Hillary's emails and all this other stuff outside of providing healthcare for our citizens. And then this leads me to when they're talking about all these other countries. China is our enemy and all this stuff. Imagine this, where I'm like, James, fuck you, man. You're my enemy. But hey, James, let me hold a little bit of money. Also, I'm gonna send you over some shirts. Could you press those up for me? And then also, could you whip me up some of that good little chicken with the rice and all the stuff? Could you do that for me? You enemy?
Hey, I'll throw in a spring roll for you too.
Thanks, enemy.
Yep. Have some soy sauce on the side. but that ain't that some shit? It's like you literally had an opportunity. Like, look, if I was one of the Democrats, I would have been like, okay, Mr. President, here I have a bill right here, ready to go, so that you can sign into law that we can give everybody Medicare. All you got to do is just sign it. And then, boom.
Hey, that would have been a flex, because if if Donald Trump didn't sign it, then they could say, look, we are the ones that's for the people and the populace and all this stuff. That would have definitely got Democrats more votes. But instead, if you're going to try to outright wing the right wingers, I'm going to just choose a real right winger. It's just like this. I don't drink soda anymore, but if I'm going to drink a soda, I'm not drinking a Diet Pepsi. I'm getting a Pepsi, bro. And that's what I'm going to drink, because I don't drink soda. So when I do drink soda, I want to drink an actual soda. If people are saying, look, man, I don't vote right wing. But if I'm a vote right wing, they don't want a diet version of it. They don't want the dilute. They like, give me the full right wing. And that's what Democrats try to do. They try to be like, oh, we'll be bipartisan and act a little bit right wing. But they're like, I thought you were the big tent party of all this. If you're just another spinoff of the, another spinoff of this, then I'll just stick with this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said, it reminds me of when Donald Trump floated the idea of giving everybody Medicare. Because the thing is, with defund the police, it's like, I don't care what you name it. You could name it whatever you want.
Just get it done. Yeah, like, I don't care about universal health care being called Medicare for all. I don't give a hoot what you call it. Just get it passed.
You could have called it Trump care. I don't care.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. Call it call it MAGA care. If I had universal health care and you can get all of the transplants and you can get all the surgeries, all that you want, but it's called MAGA care, okay, fine by me.
Yeah. I mean, if I hand you a brand new Maserati, but I call it a shitmobile, are you still going to drive the Maserati?
Yeah.
Me too. I don't care how much you call it, just give it to me, right? And so it's the same thing. Like with defund the police, it's like, okay, so we allocate resources to disaffected communities, right? Use some of that money that you give to the police to be reparations. You gotta give us all of our reparations in 1 year. You can do it in installments. Look, we love installments.
Yes.
Look at the United States. We pay everything in installments now. We even started to pay food, that you order on DoorDash in installments. Go ahead, pay us in installments. Well, that's fine. Pay us some interest too. But the thing is, like, it's crazy. Like, people are complaining about taking resources so that we can lower the crime rates. That's what the whole purpose
That
is.
and this is how the Democrats, this is show you how pathetic the Democrats are at messaging, because they agree with the right wingers, because Democrats are right wing, it's not the left. They
Mm-hmm.
should take that tough on crime narrative and show how they get tough on crime by giving reparations, by giving economic investments in the black community, by investing in all of these, since they like to be a big tent and they want to all lives matter and talk about all of these other marginalized groups, then cool, invest in those groups economically. That is how you get tough on crime, because you don't see people in affluent or middle class black neighborhoods doing drive-bys. But when you do see a drive-by, oh, coincidence, it happens to be a poor, impoverished neighborhood, dilapidated buildings, poor school system, but suddenly you can't figure out why there's mischievous youth running around. But then once again, you flip to the more affluent areas, those kids are not getting in trouble, and less than 1% of the entire black population is committing any type of crime, especially violent crime. But we have
Most
to
of them
be
own guns.
exactly. So they'll say that all the time. Oh, you guys don't know anything about guns and doing all this stuff. So how are we super violent and savage again? You guys know about guns, bombs, drones, all sorts of explosives. You will shame and shun us for not knowing about that, but then you'll also say we're more violent for not knowing about any of that stuff. There's no black owned gun manufacturers. There's no black owned
Not
swords
really.
makers or weaponry makers. But
Yeah.
how are we allegedly the most violent? And not only that, we don't have organized crime that fuels and feeds entire communities. There's an Irish mafia, a Jewish mafia, an Italian mafia,
A
Mexican
Russian
mafia,
mafia.
Colombia. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And all of them, they fund legitimate businesses in the community. Like there may be a Irish pub that the Irish mafia funded and laundered the money. We don't have any organized crime like that, where a black gangbanger in Chicago somehow has a pipeline to James. You're his plug, and then he somehow uh, uh keeping your Patreon afloat with his proceedings from you said we don't have organized, so if anything, other groups have a more systemic crime issue, but it would be unfair and unfathomable to say, like, okay, this specific demographic of Asians has an illicit massage parlor that is allowed to be operated. Therefore, Asians are inherently criminal because you guys are condoning this. And where's the accountability? That argument wouldn't fly, but those are the type of arguments that people make against us. And that's why it's so easy for people to, get on the board of the police and
Mm-hmm.
aid them in their oppression and pat them on the back while they have cop cities. So you've been super gracious with your time. I just want to ask you one more thing,
Sure.
because man, it's been so cool. Like I can feel like I could talk to you all day, man. So I really appreciate this. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a big thing on mutual aid, right? Some
Mm-hmm.
people are waiting for the politicians to save them, and they believe that they are going to save them because they vote for Team Blue. If you're MAGA, you think Trump is going to make America great again. He's going to bring back manufacturing because China is the enemy and Trump is standing up to them. So, yeah, man, Team Red. And then on the flip side, you believe that Kamala, Pete Buttigieg, or someone else is going to rise from the ashes, and then they're going to wave a magic wand and do something for you. You and RBN, other people of the grassroots, myself included, have decided that, you know what, I'm going to put my foot down, throw my hat in the ring, and I'm going to start taking direct action. And that's essentially what mutual aid is about. Many people are unfamiliar with the term, and I've even seen a lot of people scoff at that because they think, oh, you're not really doing anything. I've on my own, just on my own funds, my own organization. And mind you, I'm not a super wealthy dude. I don't have any organizational backing. I don't have any sponsorship. A lot of people don't even know what I do because I do a lot of the stuff not for the clicks and views, but just for the cultural cohesion and the community empowerment. I've organized a backpack drive on my own, giving away 100 backpacks. Some people are saying, "Oh, that's only 100." Like, look at how many people are in your city, and I'm like, bro. You've never had a party where you invited 100 people. You've never donated 100 anything. Like some people are trying to downplay it. I've done a book drive that I organized for myself, bro. I've literally donated in money and services tens of thousands of dollars, bro, where it was not only just monetary but also my services. I do filming, editing, just volunteering my time. Sometimes people downplay volunteering, right? So let's just do the minimum wage, right? Let's just say 15, even though it's higher out here in California, right? So let's just say the $15 is the minimum wage. If you donate 5 hours of your time, that actually costs something. You did it for free, but since there was no wage or no W-2 1099 filled out, people think it was just free. Therefore, there was no value to it. So sometimes people devalue it. No, if I come out a person that has extensive knowledge in various subjects, and I may be helping you with yard work, I may help you with carpentry, I may help you with some coding or something like that. I did it freely of my own volition, but there was a monetary value attached to that. So sometimes people lose sight of that. Like you go to a kitchen and you cook for the homeless and you did it freely. They're like, "Oh no, that was nothing." Like, no, if I was being paid a wage, this would have been at least $15 an hour. I did this for 5 hours, 5 times 15. That's a monetary wage. You know what I mean? And I'm doing the actual lowest estimate. So if you think about me doing photography or something else that I'm doing freely, just anyone Google how much an average hourly photographer makes, just on average. And I'm donating hours of my time, hours of my service, buying food that I'm not getting reimbursed for. Here, let's just have a barbecue. You know what I mean? I'll buy the food. I take the grill out. Hey, come and get a plate. It's given away freely, so no one sees the receipts of what I paid for. So I'm just setting that up as a preface to mutual aid. Some people, because they don't understand it, they kind of diminish the impact on it and like, oh, you're only helping 50 people, right? In a city of 20 million. I'm like, hold on. I helped 50 people and you helped zero. So I'm doing 50 times more work than you. That's a way to look at it, right? You can look at it that it's only 50 people, but you've only helped zero. What's a bigger number, 50 or zero? So could you speak on mutual aid, expound on anything I said and what it actually means to you?
I'm gonna flip it around. You said you helped 50 people. I would go, okay, so what if you join me and you help 50 people? And then your friend joined me and they helped me 50 people. And then they joined and help another 50 people. Guess what? Now we just helped 200. See what happens when we collectively try to do things together? And when people talk about mutual aid is different from charity because you can't get anything back in value from it. The value is in helping your community to build it up. That's it. That's all. And ultimately, you're giving of your time, energy, and resources so that you can help your community not only to be better off materially, but also mutual aid is also a form of education to inform the community, number one, of the power that they have. Number two, you're informing them of the principles that help us build dual power to leave this system behind, because this system has not done us any good. And there are different forms of mutual aid. It could be like what the Black Panthers did. People don't realize that the Black Panthers also did free plumbing. They had health clinics. They even tested for sickle cell anemia
Yeah,
in
they would
people.
take people to the hospital outside of the free lunch program. The litany of things that they did was extremely astonishing. And mind you, they didn't have the resources. They were procuring them from the community, and they had to show and prove. Look, you see everything that we're doing, and people bought in. And as you was talking, the term mutual aid, I want to expand it or remix it. It's actually a mutual investment. It's
Ooh,
more of a mutual investment than it is aid. Because yes, you are aiding, and it's kind of a form of a semantic argument, but I
yeah,
think even investment is more appropriate, especially when you talked about education. You're investing in their future, you're investing in your
yeah,
community by having a more educated and astute populace, right? When
yeah.
I'm giving you this nutritious food, that's an investment in your health and well-being. I'm not Yeah, what sounds better, aiding your health and well-being or investing in your health and well-being? And I'm not trying to just rechange the word right here. I think mutual
Right.
aid is the term and it needs to stay, but I'm just speaking from a more holistic standpoint. I
You're
think it
expanding.
is more apropos to say a mutual investment, because ultimately the results that you want to see is the fruits of your investment. And I liked how you prefaced it and said that it's not charity, because when you go to the Goodwill or Salvation Army right now and you donate your Jordans and all your shoes, you're not investing anything. You're not really aiding them in anything. Maybe you're making them more money, so maybe you can aid them in their capitalist practice, but there's no investment. Now, if I have a bunch of suits and I go give it to someone in a, living in a dilapidated area, I'm investing in their future. When they start wearing the suit, they're investing in their future. That's called transference.
Yeah,
That transcends aid. So the investment part of it is extremely huge. Then same thing too, if I send you something financially, yeah, I'm aiding you in your, endeavors, but I'm
mm,
also investing in you because I believe in you, right? I'm investing this money into James because I believe that James is going to, they say pay it forward. Pay it
mm,
forward means in an investment. That literally what it means. I'm investing this into you so that you pay it forward. Paying it forward means that I'm investing in you so that you invest in someone else. That investment becomes a perpetual cycle. And now we have a community focused on upliftment and investment. And, those are kind of synonymous with aiding, aiding and abetting. We're aiding and abetting each other to
yeah.
empowerment, not to destruction, construction, not destruction. So yeah, I like what you were saying, and I'll let you finish up on the mutual aid before we wrap up.
Man, look at you, Be-Eazy. You did like Missy Elliott. You put your thing down, flipped it, and reversed it. I
Hey,
love it.
I would try to do the it's yours if you get to get wet, but I can't do it. Like can't
Yo, real
quite
talk
get it,
though.
but
Yeah, yeah. No, real talk. No, that investment is a beautiful thing, because how many of our people, and we can talk about specifically about the Black community, and we can talk about the American community at large, but how many people really get invested in, right? And some of us, we don't feel like we're worthy enough to be invested in
or
because of this
hold
system.
on, let me give you this alley oop. We've been invested in the wrong things. Remember Bernie
Okay.
Bros? invested. He brags about small dollar donations. People were
Mm-hmm.
investing their time, money, and energy. If we just transferred that energy and that spirit into those same investments, right? Small dollar donations into our collective mutual aid efforts.
So
And so we have been invested, just kind of similar to the Democrats with their things, you know, it's just been effective. We've been invested into the duopoly. And I'm not
yep.
saying us two, I'm just saying as the American collective. We've been invested in the wrong things. We've been invested in Starbucks versus, you know, James down the streets has a mom and pop shop that he's making his own coffee, but Starbucks is a more sexy brand. So you invest in them. We have been emotionally invested in these celebrities. Beyonce, Taylor Swift, they're voting Democrat, or this person, comedian is voting conservative, so I'm going to invest into that. So I just want to touch on that, especially with the small dollar donations, because man, Bernie raising hundreds of millions, keep those same energy just invested into us. You know, if you don't think RBN or B-Eazy is doing the appropriate stuff, take that and invest it in your own. Because my thing is, look, I'm okay with, it's not a competition, but I'm okay with competing mutual aids where it's like you out trying to do, like, I gave out 50 free lunches. Well, I gave out 100. Like, I'm not gonna be mad if you out mutual aided me. You know what I mean? But my bad. I just had to interject that.
No, I mean, you know, you are correct. You know, and really, to be honest with you, that was, you know, that investment did not give us an ROI. Now we're changing it and we're actually going to do something that gives us a good ROI, because I believe that this global whole, we're all part of one another. So if I invest in you, that means somewhere down the line, it's going to affect me in a positive way. It may not be as materially, it could be emotionally, it could be mentally, it could be just me seeing my community do better, and that affects me here, right? But that's still a good ROI. And the problem is that we're focused on the individualized ROI, but we're not focused on the community ROI. And so we're changing. We're going, okay, all that money we spent on Bernie Sanders or any one of these politicians, we're going straight to the people. We're not going to go through the politicians, because that's the middleman. And when you have a middleman, the money stops there and it doesn't go anywhere else. We're going to go straight to the source that it needs. And so we're going to invest in, look, we're going to invest in Samantha. We're going to invest in Keisha. We're going to invest in Chris. We're going to invest in Bernard, not Bernard Sanders, but Bernard, you know, Uncle B and Grandma. We're gonna invest in them, and then as we invest in them, guess what? We're gonna see growth, and once we see that growth, then guess what? It starts to change things, and so that's absolutely correct. I fully am on board with that, and that's why it's important for us to continue the mutual aid, to continue the mutual investment with our neighbors. One of the first things you do to invest in your neighborhood is getting to know who your neighbors are. Talk to them. You don't have to agree with everything that they do or say, but at least get to know them and see if you find out they need something, cool. And if you find out they got a little small business and it's just them, and you see that they're doing good quality work, all right, then buy from them. And don't be asking for no discounts. I know some of y'all. Don't be asking for no discounts. Just pay the full price if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, then go someplace else, I guess. But ultimately, it has to be that we start investing in each other, even in the people who you know won't ever be able to pay you back, because that's not what it's about. It's about investing in people and just letting it go. It's just like taking the seeds and just throwing it out there and then walking away and knowing you may not ever approach that land again. But once those seeds germinate and they grow and they start to bear fruit, guess what? Somebody else comes along and they can actually partake of that fruit, which means you just help feed other people behind you that you don't even know. And that's the blessing in itself. And one thing that me and Sabby talked about is that you have to have joy in the process. In the process of doing the investing, giving out the mutual aid. Like taking that grill out there, firing that grill up, making that food, you know, the ribs hit different when you find out that it was made with love, and you ain't got to pay a dime for it. you know.
And also, the way I look at it like this is sometimes a lot of the money would have been spent. Me, I'm in Cali, like, so I burn some of the finest ganja ever, you know what I mean? But also, there's some times where you go out to the mall. Why am I at the mall, right? I don't even really need to be at the mall, right? Why am I just browsing for stuff? Once you browsing for stuff, you know what's going to happen. Most likely you're going to get something. You're going to get something that you didn't need, and you're going to overspend for it. And I was just thinking, like, okay, I got all these shoes, these name brand stuff. You want to get a video game. Now video games is like $75, and then you got to keep getting the downloadable content to stay up to date with your friends. So that's another 15, $20. So
Yep.
I'm thinking, okay, cool. I'm gonna spend what, a couple hundred on video games and be bored. I don't even have time to play video games now. Versus if I can take that same 100 or 200, I can get, ribs, hot dogs, links, and, feed 20, 30, 50 people. Like what is going to be more memorable? That I played a game that I'm like, I'm bored of this game, or I remember that time I helped some people out. Like, they may not remember it, but like, who cares, bro? Like, I invested in the community so that you're also leading by example. You don't have to support my mutual aid efforts, but you see me now, go do your other one. Go do something better than me. Like I said, I fed 100 people, go feed 200. Or we come together and we feed 200 and you get more people. I'm just throwing out kind of like arbitrary numbers, but like, always say this, because people always like to downplay the mutual aid numbers. And I say this, when it comes to like someone joining your stream, and also when it comes to helping someone, if you would consider that a lot to be invited to your house, then that's a lot. So if I say, hey James, I'm coming over, right? Let's play some games or throw some beers back, and it's just me, that's me. But then if I bring 10 people, people gonna be like, why'd you bring all these people here? What do you mean all these people? It's only 10 people. No, 10 people can be a lot. Depends on the situation, right? If I have a concert at Madison Square Garden with 10 people, that's not a lot. But if I'm out there and there's 10 homeless people and I fed all 10 of them, that is a lot of people. If you think it's not, then hey, let's have some dinner and I'm going to bring 10 of my people, because it's not a lot. You should be way easy to, so that is quite a bit of people. So when you start getting up there, 20 people, 30 people, we got to stop downplaying our effort, because think about this. If you have a parent, a sibling, that's one person. If they were facing a near-death experience and they were saved, and I'm saying, that was only one person slave. People die every day. You're gonna be like, what? That one person was my mom. That one person meant a lot. So when we're talking about mutual aid, I don't ever let people downplay, you only helped 20 people. Man, y'all, they're only helping 30 people. Like, how many did you help again? Because once again, if I've helped 10 people and you helped 0, I did 10 times more work than you could ever fathom.
How much is a life worth?
I say it's priceless.
So if you save one life, you already did enough.
Yeah. Right. So like, what people literally lose sight of this, like, you only helped this one dude. I helped the one dude that was downtrodden, near facing self-deletion thoughts, and I talked them off a ledge. I actually had a friend of mine's, RIP, my friend Dustin, in Colombia, Medellin. He jumped off of a building, 40-foot building, and committed suicide, unfortunately. And this happened a couple years ago. That was one person that affected his entire family. So, like any help that we're doing, we need to praise it. So I don't care if you did a mutual aid event and only one person showed up. That's one more than other people are doing. So I definitely commend you and salute you, RBN, Sabby, anyone else that is continuously putting forth this effort, because we all we got and we all we need, but we just need to understand that we do need each other. There's really no such thing as independence living in a society of others, because we all are interdependent. Because hey, I'm independent and then your plumbing goes out. Okay, we'll fix it independently. Oh, so you're not independent. You need another human being, another working class person to come help you out, because that's not your expertise. Much of these major cities, people don't have cars. You're not independent. You need a bus driver. You need a Uber driver. You're not independent. You're interdependent. Just like that Uber driver is depending on that driver to, give them some funds. It's a mutual exchange. So like the more we stop looking in this individual toxic mindset, we will be able to appreciate our fellow brother and sister regardless of their color, creed, racial, ethnic background. So I want you to just give some closing thoughts, and once I close it up, just hang out, because I just want to do like one little quick segment that we discussed with the foodie. But like this has been like a very fruitful stream. So Mr. James, go ahead and close it out for us. Our final thoughts, anything you want to talk about that we discussed tonight, or your future endeavors that you got coming up, because you do got a hot YouTube show, man. So like, let the people know what's up.
Yeah. So one of the things I always end with in my shows, I always tell people, leave the world better than you found it. And the extended version of that is leave the world better than you found it. You don't have to change the entire world, just help change someone's world so that they're better off today than they were yesterday. Sometimes this involves not focusing on ourselves at all and just helping out that person. Sometimes we have to take the equation of what will this do for me out of our minds, because ultimately when you help out another human being, you are essentially helping out yourself, of course within reason, because you don't want to be taken advantage of. But we all know somebody that's disenfranchised, at least most of us do. We have people in our respective cities. What are we doing? And for those people who are marginalized, what we were talking about today, you may have a preconceived notion of certain people, but how many of those people who you are against, how many of them have you actually met, had conversations with, and got to know better? Because then once you start to get to know them better, you start to realize, well, they're not that much different than me. You start to humanize people in your mind. You start to see yourself in them. So I appeal to the conscience of other people, and I say, get together with your community and see yourself in other people. Because once you do, then your world expands, your mind expands, your heart expands. And then you start to take action, just like B-Eazy did, just like I'm doing, just like many of us are doing, and helping out our communities. And that care, that compassion, that sense of justice, that's what's going to save us. And doing it together is what's going to save us. And do what you can, support independent media. You know, when it comes to this stream, like, share, subscribe. Make sure to support B-Eazy, because this work is not easy either, you know, but it is definitely a worthwhile endeavor to help encourage you to continue to care for your community and also to help keep you informed. So what do I have coming up? I will be I do readings on my channel. So I do readings of different books and discussions. And then I also have guests where I have on. Of course, in the near future, I'll be having B-Eazy on. And then also within the next week or so, I'll be having on other I'll be having on other guests. Some are to be announced, but I typically have on other guests as well, because it is important to be able to get different perspectives from different people. And some people you may not agree with, but you know, it's important to have perspectives of people who we may not know that much of, that we may not have, you know, total agreement with, because we don't want to be in the echo chamber. So that's what I have coming up. If you guys want to, you guys can always follow me on my channel at JBFaunt. That's JAYBEFAUNT. Also follow me on Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can find that on YouTube as well. And thank you very much for your time.
Man, thank you so much, JB, Mr. James Fauntleroy. I appreciate your time. You know, you have been gracious with your time. It's just, you know, it's contagious, man, when you get around the good energy, and, you know, you talk around about certain topics that are taboo, that you don't have to say pause, or you don't have to say no homo. And I don't want to speculate on, you know, if you're of a particular community, right? People of that community should be the leading voices, right? Like, I don't want to hear straight people, oh, well gay people, or this is how they feel, this is how they do. Just as well, you don't want to hear, you know, some non-black person saying blacks are like this. Same thing, you know, I'm not going to be speaking for the Jewish community. So oftentimes with these discussions, that's what's happening. Mainly people outside of the group they're speaking about, or trying to be the voices, right? Most of the people that I hear talking about Palestinians are not Palestinian. The Palestinian voices are just being marginalized, but it's like, you're talking about their group, you know. Then you'll talk about Black Americans, and then you'll get someone that just immigrated here to talk, you know, here, you know, you know, let's talk about woke stuff, and you know, homosexuality and gay politics, but everyone on the panel was straight and married. It's like, you know, so our level of discourse and politics in society has gotten, you know, beyond goofy. So it's always refreshing to hear someone to be kind of impartial, you know, have a level head. We always are going to have our particular preferences or biases, but we can hash those out respectfully, right? You don't have to be disrespectful in your disagreement. And some of the disagreements are actually temporary, because the disagreement may only be a disagreement based on the knowledge that you have now. When presented with new information, your perspective and your outlook could change, and now that disagreement turns into a shared sentiment. But you won't get to that point if you're hurling slurs at me. Then I have to hurl slurs back at you. I always have an analogy of a food fight. Most of the youngins don't even know what a food fight is, but they did used to put it in movies and shows. But if you are over there peacefully eating your applesauce, and suddenly some spaghetti strings get thrown on you, yeah, you didn't intend to engage in that food fight, but now you had on a white tee, and now I got spaghetti. Okay, now I've just entered the food fight. So it's just better for all of us to just not throw food, because no one is going to walk out unscathed. And that's usually what happens People start throwing these ad hominems, and now we get away from the point because I feel disrespected. So even though you have a great point, I can't acknowledge it because I need to attack your point because I need to get my get back. We need to get beyond that and become more mature. And James Fauntleroy, Sabby, RBN, other strong figures, people in the B1 grassroots. I know there's Tariq, Jason Black, Professor Black Truth. These are the people where it is not hard. Once you commit to being a Black first channel, you can just forget about your chances of growing exponentially in monetization. Now, if you want to be a Black exploitation channel where you're talking about how bad the Black community is, or if you want to cape for a particular party, Democrat or Republican, then you will be boosted in the algorithm. So people do need to show more love and reverence to the people that are doing this work because it's an inglorious job. I'm not getting wealthy off it. There's no accolades. There's no glitz and glamour. And I'm not saying that there needs to be, but this is the change that people want to see. So you need to be active participants. If you can't donate, then share. That doesn't cost you a fee. It's free. It's free to subscribe. It's free to tell, hey, look, go watch this video. I didn't donate, but I would say that spreading the word to some people, that is a form of support. Support is not always monetary. So we will be doing many more of these, and just hang back. I'm gonna just end this right now, and you'll see a lot more of James Fauntleroy and us collabing because this is a person that I definitely have affinity for because he states his position, and he's not afraid to disagree and do it in a respectful, constructive manner. So salute to you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.